Chapter 390. When Yu Chenxi saw Xiao Chen's calm expression, astonishment flashed on his face. "Xiao Chen, you do not seem worried at all." Xiao Chen found a rock to lean on and took out a spirit herb for treating injuries from the herb garden from the universe ring. Then, he took out a small knife and skinned it. He said, "There is no point in worrying. Even a martial monarch could not break through the huge waves. What can I do? I will just wait for another 2 years. I have enough medial-grade spirit stones to cultivate." To cultivators, the thing they should not be afraid of is loneliness. Some of those sages would be in closed-door cultivation for several years or even decades. So, when you think about it, it is not a big deal. After he skinned the spirit herb, Xiao Chen gently bit off a piece. Instantly, a dense medicinal energy flowed into his body. He used his essence to guide it, and the medicinal energy quickly flowed into the horrifying wound on his chest. ZZ. With the nourishment of the medicinal energy, the wound on Xiao Chen's chest gave off a numbing feeling. The festering flesh started wriggling and quickly formed a scar. The medicinal energy continued to permeate into his 2 broken ribs. New bones started to appear at the broken areas. Soon, they would be able to truly fuse back together. A 600-year-old jadeite needle fruit is indeed good stuff, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Just a small bite has such a huge effect. After I eat it, coupled with my physique, I should be able to recover in 1 night. After taking another bite of the jadeite needle fruit, Xiao Chen looked at Yu Chenxi and said, "Furthermore, I believe that you have a way to inform the Supreme Sky Sect. You might be able to leave earlier than I expected." Yu Chenxi was mildly startled. Xiao Chen had guessed correctly. He really had a way to inform the Supreme Sky Sect. Hence, she was not too worried. However, when Yu Chenxi saw Xiao Chen's calm and unconcerned expression and how he was even eating and talking to her at the same time, Yu Chenxi felt somewhat displeased. With a flip of his palm, a wound appeared on his palm. A small white bird slowly came out of his palm. Soon, its entire body came out and stood on his palm. The white bird was about the size of a sparrow. Rather than calling it white, it was more like an illusory color. As it stood on his palm, it looked like it had merged with the air. It was faintly discernible and looked very blurry. Xiao Chen asked doubtfully, "What is this?" Yu Chenxi smiled and said, "This is a hummingbird. Every disciple of the Supreme Sky Sect brings one with them when they go out on experiential training. Its body exists between reality and illusion. No barrier can stop it. With this message, the Supreme Sky Sect will send an expert to bring us out in 3 months at the latest." After Yu Chenxi wrote a piece of paper, she stuffed it into the hummingbird's mouth and tossed it high into the air. In the blink of an eye, the hummingbird flew a few hundred meters. Before the two's eyes, the hummingbird mysteriously passed through the obstruction of the huge waves and disappeared from their sight. Xiao Chen looked at the huge waves in the distance and muttered to himself, "Martial monarchs will not be able to break through these huge waves unless a martial sage comes. Even a martial sage will make a move for her." It looks like Yu Chenxi's position in the Supreme Sky Sect is not as simple as an ordinary genius disciple. Yu Chenxi slowly withdrew his gaze and looked at Xiao Chen. He said, "No matter what, it is all thanks to you that I managed to obtain the daybreak flower this time. I, Yu Chenxi, owe you a favor." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not say anything. 3 days later, with the help of the jadeite needle fruit, the wound on Xiao Chen's chest had completely healed. This kind of injury, which did not injure his internal organs, heart, or lungs, was no longer a threat to Xiao Chen's current physique. Even without the assistance of spirit herbs, he would recover in less than 10 days. With Bai's help, Xiao Chen removed the bandages. Secret treasures had the ability to recover automatically. The clear wind robes and the inferior-grade inner vest were already as good as new. However, the spiritual energy they contained had decreased, and their lifespan had decreased as well. After tossing away the bandages, Xiao Chen prepared to take inventory of the burial items that the Savannah King had left behind. The burial items of a future Emperor Wu would definitely be good. Coincidentally, Yu Chenxi had decided to absorb the energy of the daybreak flower to comprehend the morning sun incantation. Xiao Qin gave Xiao Qin some private space. There were 8 burial items of various sizes that the Savannah King had left behind. In this fortuitous encounter on Qianren Island, hundreds and thousands of cultivators would be very satisfied with just one burial item. If they knew that Xiao Qin had snatched all of them away, what kind of expression would they have? Xiao Qin tossed out the 8 burial items from his spatial ring in one go. He tossed them all to the ground and started to take inventory with an excited expression on his face. Among the 8 burial items, there were 3 secret manuals and 3 secret treasures. There were also 2 things that Xiao Qin could not figure out. Xiao Qin was most interested in secret manuals. He immediately picked up a secret manual and flipped through it. He read softly, Flowing Light Sword Art, a peak earth-ranked cultivation technique for swordsmen. There is a total of 15 layers. After reaching great perfection, it will allow the swordsman's dantian to produce a continuous stream of sword qi. This was a supreme cultivation technique for swordsmen. It could allow a swordsman to produce sword qi in their body. Xiao Qin had never heard of it before. He thought that it should be extraordinary. Furthermore, it was a cultivation technique tailored for swordsmen. Its value was immeasurable. To a swordsman, it was probably even better than an inferior-grade heaven-ranked cultivation technique. Unfortunately, Xiao Qin was a bladesman. A bladesman and a swordsman were 2 different branches. He could not practice it. If only it were a saber art. Although the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation was strong, it was not tailored for bladesmen. It could not produce saber qi in the body. Xiao Qin felt somewhat disappointed. He casually handed the Flowing Light Sword Art to Bai. He smiled and said, Bai, this is for you. When you have nothing to do, take a good look at it. Bai received the Flowing Light Sword Art and smiled gently. Thank you, elder brother Xiao Qin. Bai is going to become even more powerful. Xiao Qin picked up the second secret manual and flipped through it again. When he saw the words on the cover, he slowly read, Firmament Body Tempering Art, Inferior Grade Heaven-Ranked Body Tempering Secret Manual. One's vital qi needs to reach 150,000 kilograms of force in order to cultivate it. This is an ancient sect. Xiao Qin's face lit up in joy. There was finally a secret manual for him to use. The Dragon and Tiger Body Tempering Art was only a peak earth-ranked body tempering secret technique. After Xiao Qin cultivated Dragon Tendon Tiger Bone, his strength reached 250,000 kilograms of force. There was no longer any possibility of improving it. Coincidentally, the Firmament Body Tempering Art could be used by Xiao Qin. As long as he could cultivate 25,000 kilograms of force, he would be able to cultivate it. With the help of the many body-tempering spirit herbs in his ring, this would not be difficult. Xiao Qin sorted out his emotions and continued reading. There were some notes written by the Savannah King at the bottom of the cover. Only now did Xiao Qin discover that the Savannah King was a cultivator who specialized in tempering the physical body and became a martial sage. It turned out that when the Savannah King was young, his cultivation and talent were very poor. His cultivation of essence had been very slow. He barely managed to become an inferior-grade martial saint at the age of 30. Such talent would not even cause a ripple in the Tianwu continent. However, the proud Savannah King was extremely dissatisfied. Later on, the Savannah King had a fortuitous encounter and obtained this firmament body tempering art. After that, he made up his mind to cripple his cultivation and cultivate his physical body, using strength to prove his Tao. The firmament body tempering art was a body tempering cultivation technique of a mysterious sect in the ancient era. The outer disciples of that legendary sect could easily achieve more than 50,000 kilograms of force with a punch. The inner disciples could achieve more than 150,000 kilograms of force with a punch. As for the inner disciples, core disciples, and outer elders, they could achieve more than 500,000 kilograms of force with a casual punch. When they kicked out, the horrifying force would allow them to leap a kilometer in an instant. Furthermore, they specialized in vital qi. The sect had many martial techniques that used vital qi. The effects of using vital qi were no weaker than using essence. Xiao Chen closed the secret manual and muttered, "I did not expect there to be such a glorious sect in the past. A casual punch could achieve more than 500,000 kilograms of force. Even a martial monarch would not dare to receive it head-on. It looks like choosing to temper the physical body was the right choice." After putting away the secret manual, Xiao Chen started to look at the third secret manual. He discovered that the third secret manual was a body-tempering cultivation technique that the Savannah King left behind. The cultivation experience of a half-step Emperor Wu. This is more precious than any cultivation technique or martial technique. For a long time, I have not had a true master to guide me. This cultivation experience can be considered as half a master. Xiao Chen could no longer contain his joy. He said this excitedly as he put away the Savannah King's cultivation experience. Then, he continued to look at the remaining burial items. There were 3 extraordinary secret treasures. Among the 3 secret treasures, Xiao Chen casually picked up the jade pendant. He discovered that it was similar to the jade pendant around his neck. It was also a defensive secret treasure. However, its defense was much stronger. Based on the spiritual energy fluctuations, it should be a peak inferior grade secret treasure. Xiao Chen thought for a while before handing the jade pendant to Bai. He already had a similar jade pendant, so there was no need to do so. Xiao Chen picked up the second secret treasure. It was a small sword the size of a palm. The blade was forged from an unknown metal. There were many talisman scripts carved on it. The spiritual energy on the sword was very dense, much denser than that of the jade pendant. The blade was very sharp as well. Xiao Chen checked it and discovered that it was actually an inferior grade medial grade secret treasure. Xiao Chen did not know what use this small sword had. He removed the spiritual sense left behind by the predecessor and branded it with his own mark. Xiao. When Xiao Chen's spiritual sense filled the sword, the small sword in his palm made a cut on his palm with a "so" sound. Then, it slowly merged into his palm. Xiao Chen did not feel any discomfort. When the sword merged into his palm, it felt like it was part of his flesh and blood, a part of his body. It was just that it had returned to him at this moment. When the sword completely entered his palm, the wound on his palm immediately healed. His skin glowed white, there was nothing wrong with it. However, Xiao Chen suddenly felt a surging and strong energy leaping about in his right palm. This energy did not belong to him, but he could easily control it. With just a thought, Xiao Chen could easily release it. He stood up and looked at a mountain in the distance. Then, Xiao Chen raised 2 fingers on his right hand and pointed forward. Xiao! The small sword in Xiao Chen's palm carried a horrifying energy as it burst out of his fingers and shot towards the mountain a kilometer away. Chapter 391. Boom! 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 The instant the small sword left his body, Xiao Chen heard half of the mountain shatter. From the waist up, the 1,000-meter-tall mountain seemed to have completely shattered. Wang! 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 However, it was not over yet. Suddenly, countless cracks appeared in the remaining half of the mountain. Countless rocks fell down. After a short while, the remaining half of the mountain was completely shattered. The 1,000-meter-tall mountain had actually been blasted to the ground by the small sword. Xiao Chen was dumbfounded as he watched all this. He had not expected the small sword to be so mighty. He muttered, "Is this the might of a medial-grade offensive secret treasure? If caught off guard, it might even be able to kill a half-step martial monarch in an instant." The small sword whistled through the air. It no longer had any luster, looking very illusory. Then, it flew back to Xiao Chen's palm. Strands of weak essence flowed from Xiao Chen's body to his palm, slowly charging this small sword. It looked like it would be impossible for the small sword to recover its previous strength in a short period. However, since it was so mighty, Xiao Chen did not need the small sword to attack continuously. This small sword can be considered my true trump card. I have to give it a name. Let's call it the Palm Sword. Xiao Chen said softly. He casually chose a more realistic name. The smile on his face did not fade for a long time. The might of the palm sword was simply too great. This was the first time Xiao Chen had the confidence to fight against half-step martial monarchs. He could not help but be happy. There was still one last secret treasure. However, it gave Xiao Chen a headache. It was a heavy black helmet. Clearly, it was a defensive medial-grade secret treasure. Xiao Chen weighed the helmet in his hand. When he saw the two horns on the helmet, he immediately lost interest. Not to mention its appearance, just the weight of this helmet was more than 100 kilograms. Unless one was a heavy armored knight on the battlefield or a barbarian warrior, no one would have a good impression of this helmet, no matter how strong its defense was. Casually tossing the helmet into the universe ring, Xiao Chen looked at the last two items. They were the same. It was a bright pearl. The light from the pearl was neither dim nor dazzling. It was very moderate. Xiao Chen sensed a vast and pure yuan energy that made his heart palpitate. His intuition told him that this was a great Tao. Among the funerary objects of the Savannah King, these two pearls were definitely the most valuable. Even a few secret treasures and secret manuals combined would not be as valuable as these pearls. However, the depressing thing was that Xiao Chen's knowledge was limited. He did not know what it was, so he could only toss it into a corner of his universe ring. Boom boom boom. At this moment, in a secluded corner of the Qianren Island, a peak that was also 3,000 meters tall began to crack. That mountain was so huge that when it shattered, it kept shaking. Even the ground was shaking slightly. Huge waves surged on the surface of the sea around Qianren Island, rolling up and down continuously. Xiao Chen looked over and saw a dazzling golden light in the distance. Countless tyrannical fist winds exploded. The 1,000-meter-tall mountain shrank at a visible rate under the frenzied fist winds. 1 punch, 2 punches, 3 punches, 4 punches, 10 punches. After 10 punches, the 3,000-meter-tall mountain was mostly shaved off. All that was left was a bare mound. When the light scattered, Yu Chenxi's figure slowly appeared. Then, he landed firmly on the ground. Xiao Chen had to use a secret treasure to flatten a mountain. However, Yu Chenxi relied on his tyrannical strength to blast away most of the mountain. This gap was rather large. Furthermore, Yu Chenxi was not the peak genius of this continent. In the previous 5-nation youth competition, he was only ranked in the top 50. This made Xiao Chen feel a chill in his heart. If Yu Chenxi was already so strong, how strong would the top 10 geniuses be? Xiao Chen withdrew his gaze and entered deep thought. He said softly, "There is still more than a year until the next 5-nation youth competition. I might have time to try it out." Xiao Chen had never doubted his talent. He also did not think that he was weaker than others. All he lacked was time. Compared to those peak geniuses, Xiao Chen had started too late. Even though he was trying so hard to catch up, he still had a large gap in cultivation. After Yu Chenxi obtained the Daybreak Flower, it should not be surprising for her to break through to superior grade Martial King. Furthermore, this Yu Chenxi was younger than Xiao Chen. If she already had such a cultivation, then wouldn't the other geniuses be peak superior grade Martial Kings or half-step Martial Monarchs? I have to advance to Martial King quickly. Xiao Chen felt a sense of urgency in his heart. This fortuitous encounter on Qianren Island is a great opportunity for me to catch up. After giving instructions to Bai, Xiao Chen found a desolate place on the island. He planned to enter closed-door cultivation for real. Xiao Chen took out the spirit herbs that could increase cultivation from the universe ring. He counted them carefully and found a total of 28 stalks. They were all 500-year-old and above spirit herbs. Xiao Chen was not in a rush to consume these spirit herbs. Instead, he continued to consolidate his cultivation as a superior grade martial saint. He nurtured the qi whirlpool in his dantian, building a dam to prevent the flood from happening. After cultivating for 7 days, Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. He had already stabilized his cultivation as a superior grade martial saint. The purple chi whirlpool was also nurtured until it was very resilient. The chi whirlpool should be able to endure it now. It is time to consume these spirit herbs that can increase cultivation. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and chose a 500-year-old snow ginseng from the pile of spirit herbs in front of him. If a 500-year-old snow ginseng could completely absorb its medicinal energy, theoretically, it could increase a cultivator's attack power by 10 years. However, not many people knew the correct way to consume the snow ginseng. It was very difficult to ensure that the medicinal energy would not leak out during the process. Hence, it was difficult to achieve the effect of 10 years of cultivation. Normally, it would be pretty good to have 6 or 7 years of cultivation. 8 years of cultivation would be the peak. 9 years of cultivation would be extremely lucky. However, the compendium of cultivation had detailed records of these spirit herbs. Xiao Chen knew how to consume this snow ginseng. Xiao Chen held the snow ginseng in his hand and observed it for a while. Compared to regular ginseng, the snow ginseng was much stronger than ordinary ginseng. Compared to a regular ginseng, the snow ginseng was covered in a layer of frost. When he held it in his hand, he could feel a bone-chilling cold. Furthermore, it was much larger than regular ginseng. Xiao Chen held the snow ginseng with one hand and heated it up slightly. The frost on the surface of the snow ginseng melted into liquid and seeped into the snow ginseng. This frost was the essence of the snow ginseng. Many people did not know this and lost a large portion of the snow ginseng's medicinal energy. Finally, Xiao Chen infused his essence into the snow ginseng and mixed it with the frost liquid. Xiao Chen's movements were very gentle and careful. As long as he damaged the skin of the snow ginseng, all the medicinal energy would immediately leak out. 10 minutes later, the insides of the snow ginseng had completely melted. It looked like the skin of the snow ginseng was wrapped in clear liquid. It was very plump and soft. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and placed the root of the snow ginseng into his mouth. Then, he used his teeth to bite off a root. Chi! Chi! The snow ginseng filled to the brim with spirit herb liquid found an outlet. Immediately, it gushed into Xiao Chen's mouth like a gushing fountain. The medicinal liquid was cool and crisp. A fragrance assaulted the nose. It was incomparably delicious. Xiao Chen's entire mouth was filled with this fragrance. All the medicinal energy was absorbed by Xiao Chen. Boom! The surging medicinal energy flowed down his throat and quickly poured into Xiao Chen's body. It was like a gushing river, surging through his meridians. Xiao Chen's narrow meridians were filled to the brim with medicinal energy. Every time the medicinal energy flowed, he felt some pain. Xiao Chen clenched his teeth and endured bitterly. Fortunately, Xiao Chen's physical body was at small perfection. He had dragon tendons and tiger bones. His meridians were much stronger than those of regular cultivators. If other cultivators consumed this snow ginseng, they would not dare to swallow it all in one go like Xiao Chen. Otherwise, there was a high chance that they would explode. The vast medicinal energy circulated through Xiao Chen's meridians. The energy became increasingly ferocious and surging. Finally, it rushed towards the purple chi whirlpool in his dantian. Bang! Bang! The chi whirlpool was like a dam welcoming a ferocious flood. As the flood crashed into it, loud sounds came from Xiao Chen's body. Under this intense shock, his internal organs trembled. Xiao Chen's complexion paled as he felt intense pain. The vast medicinal energy crashed into the purple chi whirlpool continuously. The resilient chi whirlpool seemed like it could collapse at any moment. Although Xiao Chen had expected the medicinal energy to be vast, when he truly faced it, the medicinal energy of the 500-year-old snow ginseng still surpassed his expectations. The space inside the chi whirlpool was already filled with medicinal energy. Furthermore, there was still a lot of medicinal energy pouring into the meridians outside. The situation was dire. If he could not digest this medicinal energy, the chi whirlpool might burst. Maintaining his calm, Xiao Chen slowly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. The chi whirlpool started spinning slowly under the control of his thoughts. Although the speed was not fast, the chi whirlpool finally moved. Immediately, a large amount of medicinal energy was absorbed by the chi whirlpool, making it even more resilient. Xiao! Xiao! As the chi whirlpool absorbed the medicinal energy, the purple chi whirlpool spun faster. In the end, it was as fast as when Xiao Qin cultivated. Only now did Xiao Qin heave a sigh of relief. His earlier efforts were not in vain. Otherwise, the purple chi whirlpool would have collapsed under the impact of the medicinal energy. As the chi whirlpool spun faster, the absorption of the medicinal energy became faster as well. Xiao Qin could clearly feel his strength increasing continuously. All the pores in Xiao Qin's body opened up, and a huge energy spread throughout his body. Even his blood could not help but surge. A 500-year-old snow ginseng could increase a cultivator's cultivation by 10 years after consuming it. It was impossible to digest all the medicinal energy in one go. In the end, it stabilized. On the contrary, Xiao Qin took the initiative to slow down the rate of absorption. Stability was the most important thing. The faster his cultivation realm rose, the more stable he had to be. After a total of 7 days, Xiao Qin finally completely refined the medicinal energy of the snow ginseng. Xiao Qin opened his eyes, and 2 purple lights flashed in them. His pitch-black pupils became even more profound, unfathomable. Chapter 392. Xiao Qin casually tossed aside the snow ginseng skin in his hand and took out another 500-year-old spirit herb. He muttered, "This is the 100 spirit fruit. Its effects are much weaker than the snow ginseng. It can only increase my cultivation by 5 years. However, 5 years is already pretty good." After consuming the snow ginseng, Xiao Qin's chi whirlpool had grown several times larger. The amount of essence it could contain had increased by 50%. Furthermore, with his previous experience, consuming and digesting the 100 spirit fruit was not as dangerous as before. 2 days later, Xiao Qin completely absorbed it. In the following month, Xiao Qin consumed natural treasures that increased his cultivation. The amount of essence in his body had already increased to a horrifying level. Xiao Qin's current essence was comparable to that of a medial-grade martial king. If he consumed all the spirit herbs, his essence would surpass that of a medial-grade martial king and rival that of a superior-grade martial king. After 1 month, Xiao Qin held the final 500-year-old spirit herb in his hand. He frowned slightly and said softly, "Toward the end, the effects of this spirit herb are getting worse. Originally, this spirit herb could increase my cultivation by 10 years. Now, it can't even reach 5 years. This was a problem of resistance to spirit herbs." Xiao Qin had encountered this before in the underground world. Because he had consumed too many spirit herbs, he had developed a strong resistance. Unless Xiao Qin found spirit herbs older than 1,000 years, it would be difficult for his cultivation to increase explosively. Spirit herbs younger than 1,000 years were no longer of much use to him. Xiao Qin collected his thoughts and smiled faintly, "I should be satisfied. Now, my total essence is close to that of a superior-grade martial king. Once I advance to martial king, the quality of my essence will increase significantly. At that time, those cultivators who have been martial kings for many years will not have much of an advantage over me." After consuming the final spirit herb, Xiao Qin used only half a day to completely digest the medicinal energy. After another week, with the support of a vast amount of essence, Xiao Qin naturally advanced to peak superior-grade martial saint without any obstructions. As Xiao Qin's cultivation advanced, the number of minor meridians in his body expanded significantly. Now, there were only 2 minor meridians left for the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 6th layer. It was time to break open the other 2 minor meridians and gain the ability to cultivate the 6th layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. At that time, his cultivation realm and cultivation technique would advance at the same time. When a martial artist was breaking through a major realm, it would take a long time. This was because the advancement of a great realm often required not only the support of sufficient yuan qi, but also a trace of opportunity. Without the right opportunity, one would always be infinitely close to becoming a martial king. Lu Ruiyue had once told Xiaochen all her valuable experiences of advancing to martial king. Thus, Xiaochen deeply understood the importance of opportunities. Fortunately, he had the heaven-ranked cultivation technique, the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. The advancement of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation could be considered an opportunity. After staying at peak martial saint for 2 days, Xiaochen made all his preparations. He started to try to open the 2 minor meridians. The pure and vast lightning attributed essence formed a small cycle in the 9 major meridians in his body. Then, it slowly followed the complicated minor meridians and made a large cycle. Xiaochen was not in a rush to return this essence to his dantian. He stopped the essence in the middle of a major meridian. There were countless minor meridians around this major meridian, spreading out like tree branches. Xiaochen found the tightly shut minor meridian and ground the essence into a sharp awl. Then, he slowly pierced it in. See? The minor meridian had just opened a little when Xiaochen felt a heart-wrenching pain. He could not help but take in a deep breath of cold air. However, Xiaochen did not stop. Pain was unavoidable when he forcefully opened a minor meridian. Xiaochen had already made preparations for this long ago. The minor meridian opened bit by bit. The intense pain caused the veins on Xiaochen's forehead to bulge. Beads of sweat flowed continuously. After working hard for a night, he finally managed to open 1/10 of this minor meridian. After resting for a while, Xiaochen continued to work without stopping. Xiaochen did not have much time. Compared to the other genius cultivators, he had started much later. The difference in their cultivations had already left him far behind. Xiaochen needed time more than anyone else. The gains from this fortuitous encounter only slightly narrowed the gap between them. After all, those genius cultivators all had the backing of a large sect. They did not lack spirit pills, miraculous medicines, or natural treasures. Even if it was painful, arduous, or dangerous, Xiaochen had to persevere. He could not afford to slack off. After half a month, with Xiaochen's hard work, he finally managed to open these 2 minor meridians. The newly formed minor meridians were too weak. They were not suitable for the flow of essence and could not be used for cultivation. However, Xiaochen had made preparations long ago. Previously, he had picked several kinds of good spirit herbs for nourishing the meridians in the herb garden. After another 7 days, with the nourishment of the spirit herbs, Xiaochen's 2 newly formed minor meridians were no different from the other minor meridians. He could now cultivate normally. The moon was as round as a plate, hanging high in the night sky. It shone down a quiet radiance. Xiaochen slowly got up from the stone block and looked at the bright moon in the sky. Then, he took out a golden spirit core from the universe ring. This golden spirit core the size of a basketball was the one he had killed in Savage Forest. It was the golden lion king with the bloodline of an ancient mutated beast. Xiaochen still felt that he was lacking something to advance to martial king until he remembered the spirit core of the golden lion king. Only now did Xiaochen realize that he still lacked an extremely strong external force. When he cultivated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation to the 6th layer, he would be able to use it together with the essence in his body to break through to martial king in one go. The golden spirit core that had been lying dormant in Xiaochen's hand for more than a year was finally going to be put to good use. Advancing from superior grade martial saint to martial king within 3 months was as difficult as ascending to heaven. Most people would not even dare to think about it. However, Xiaochen wanted to give it a try. When he felt the incomparably pure energy in the golden spirit core, he said indifferently, "I prepared for more than 2 months. I used spirit herbs to increase my strength, suffered a lot, and forcefully opened my minor meridians. All these were for this day." Xiaochen could only succeed, he could not afford to fail. Compared to those geniuses who had a sect backing them and a peak master, he did not have the capital to fail. Once he failed, he would forever lose the chance to catch up. The moon was round and full, the night was deep and quiet. Xiaochen found a place with relatively dense spiritual energy in the surroundings. He sat cross-legged on a huge rock. He crossed his hands, and the golden spirit core the size of a basketball floated quietly above his palms. The spiritual energy in the spirit core floated around, but it did not scatter. It was being guided by Xiao Chen's spiritual sense. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and slowly spat out a mouthful of white qi. This qi was like a sword and did not scatter for a long time. Success or failure, it all depended on this moment. When everything was ready, Xiao Chen closed his eyes resolutely. The huge qi whirlpool in his dantian spun quickly. Xiao Chen silently circulated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 6th layer. The surrounding lightning-attributed spiritual energy quickly poured into his body. It flowed through his pores and into his meridians before returning to his dantian. Dee-da! 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 The lightning-attributed essence liquid quickly formed and dripped into the purple qi whirlpool. The purple qi whirlpool was quickly filled with lightning-attributed energy. This was the first step of cultivating the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, condensing qi. It absorbed all the lightning-attributed spiritual energy into the dantian. However, it was not just absorbing it. It also had to be refined continuously, turning the spiritual energy into even purer essence. The purple liquid in the qi whirlpool also spun quickly. Xiao Chen was now using the secret technique of the 6th layer to refine spiritual energy. Hence, the speed was much faster than usual. Qi! Qi! As the cyclone rotated inside and outside at the same time, countless electric currents appeared out of nowhere in the surrounding air, crackling and flashing non-stop. In the dark night, it was like a tiny bolt of lightning flashing by. It illuminated Xiao Chen's face occasionally with a purple light. Boom! Suddenly, the two whirlpools stopped spinning at the same time. The purple liquid in the qi whirlpool exploded, and its color became even denser. However, the amount decreased by about half. Originally, the spiritual energy could fill the entire qi whirlpool. Now, only a small portion was left. This was because all the spiritual energy in the surroundings had been converted into essence. The time required for this was twice as fast as before. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 6th layer is indeed powerful, Xiao Chen thought joyfully. If this is the case, my cultivation speed will be doubled in the future. However, this was only a small success. Next, he had to complete a minor cycle and a major cycle, completing an internal and external cycle. Only then would he be able to advance the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 5th layer to the 6th layer. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and continued to circulate the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. The dense purple liquid in the qi whirlpool quickly surged out, heading for the 9 major meridians in his body. Hoo! Hoo! The pure and dense essence flowed quickly in the 9 major meridians. It was like a wild horse that had broken free of its reins. Xiao Chen found it hard to control it. What a fast speed! Xiao Chen was startled. The faster the speed, the higher the efficiency of his cultivation. This made Xiao Chen feel even more anticipation for the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 6th layer. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen had to be even more careful. If the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation broke free of his control, this breakthrough would end in failure. No matter what, the first minor cycle had to be completed successfully. Otherwise, the subsequent major cycles would be even faster. If he could not even handle a minor cycle, then he would not be able to control a major cycle. Xiao Chen sank his consciousness into it. His will was like a rein, firmly controlling this wild horse, not letting it break free of his control. Under Xiao Chen's control, the minor cycle finally completed a cycle with some difficulty. Boom! 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 When the essence returned to the qi whirlpool started to circulate once again. A huge electric whirlpool appeared in the sky above Xiao Chen's head. That electric whirlpool did not circulate for now. It only appeared in the night sky. Lightning flashed and thunder roared around it, illuminating the entire Qianren Island's night sky. Yu Chenxi, who was chatting with Bai, noticed the strange changes in the sky. His expression immediately changed. He muttered, "This is a mysterious phenomenon. A mysterious phenomenon will only appear when a heaven-ranked cultivation technique advances. Could it be that Xiaochen cultivates a heaven-ranked cultivation technique? Chapter 393. When Bai saw the electric whirlpool that appeared out of nowhere, a grave expression appeared on her cute face. She was no longer the little spirit fox that did not know anything. Now that she had successfully transformed, she had started cultivating. Such a huge mysterious phenomenon would definitely be accompanied by great danger. She could not help but ask worriedly, "Elder sister Yu, will elder brother Xiaochen be fine? Should we go and take a look?" Yu Chenxi looked at Bai's charming face and thought to himself, this Xiaochen is really lucky. He has a bad temper, but he still has a pretty girl following him so loyally. Bai, don't worry. He is now at a critical juncture. If we get too close, it will not be good for him. I believe he will succeed, Yu Chenxi said with a gentle smile. When Bai heard this, she nodded her head and said, Bai believes that elder brother Xiaochen will succeed as well. The mysterious phenomenon outside did not affect Xiaochen at all. He was currently focused on the Qi whirlpool. Originally, there was only a small portion of the purple liquid. After one small cycle, it quickly grew to half. With the help of the spirit herbs, Xiaochen's essence base was already very vast. Now, with just one small cycle, it was like the Qi whirlpool was filled to half. This made Xiaochen very excited. A small cycle is already so powerful. I wonder what a great cycle will be like, Xiaochen thought to himself. Then, he controlled his essence to make a great cycle. This was the most crucial step in his breakthrough. Hu Qi. Hu Qi. As he circulated his mental energy, the essence liquid in the Qi whirlpool shot out. It was so fast that Xiaochen could not react in time. If the previous small cycle was like a wild horse, then it was like a sports car. It was on a completely different level. This is not good. If this continues, I will not be able to control the flow of essence. When the essence becomes chaotic, not only will my breakthrough fail, but it will also result in serious internal injuries. Xiaochen's expression changed greatly as he thought to himself in fear. It was like a person who had been driving a carriage all year round was suddenly given a sports car. After getting used to the speed of the carriage, it would be very difficult to control the speed of the sports car. Calm down, I must calm down at this time. Xiaochen's extraordinary state of mind finally worked again at this time. His frightened and uneasy heart quickly calmed down. Xiaochen's mind suddenly lit up. He calmed down and finally thought of a way to deal with it. Actually, he had been thinking in the wrong direction from the start. It was simply impossible to suddenly control this surging essence. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 5th layer was completely different from the 6th layer. With such a huge leap, Xiaochen believed that no one could grasp it in one go. If that was the case, wouldn't it mean that no one could cultivate the 6th layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation? Obviously, that was not the case. What he needed to do now was not to completely control the flying vital energy, but to control the direction of its flow. He allowed it to smoothly follow the route of the 6th layer and complete a great cycle. Given this, Xiaochen suddenly felt enlightened. Every time his essence soared, he would not be able to withstand it. Every time the essence was about to go down the wrong path, his will would turn into a gentle force and push it back to the right path. However, while it sounded simple, it was actually very difficult. This was because the speed at which the essence circulated was simply too fast. If he wanted to grasp the right timing every time, it would be very taxing on his mind. He could not afford to be careless. Rumble. When the essence completed a great cycle, the huge electric whirlpool above Xiaochen's head also started spinning quickly, sucking in all the lightning-attributed spiritual energy within a kilometer. Lightning flashed and clouds churned for a kilometer. The flickering electric light illuminated the sky above Qianren Island like it was daytime. Under Xiaochen's careful control, a great cycle was almost completed. During this time, the essence nearly went through the wrong meridian several times. However, Xiaochen managed to pull it back in advance. Xiao Chen felt his heart beating several times faster than usual. The process was simply too dangerous. Bang! The essence finally gathered in the dantian and exploded in the qi whirlpool. The surging essence liquid fluctuated for a long time before it stopped. The purple liquid slowly piled up, and soon, the qi whirlpool was filled to the brim. Xiao Chen felt a swelling sensation. After the purple liquid filled the qi whirlpool to the brim, it actually forcefully expanded the qi whirlpool. The purple thunder divine incantation's 6th layer, completed. Xiao Chen thought excitedly in his heart. Then, he opened his eyes and 2 beams of purple light flashed in the night sky, illuminating everything within a kilometer. Before Xiao Chen could react, the horrifying electric whirlpool in the sky entered his right eye with a "so" sound. This sudden change stunned Xiao Chen. However, he did not panic. This was because the purple thunder true fire had absorbed all the energy in the whirlpool, not leaving a single drop behind. Xiao Chen was not in a rush to test the might of the purple thunder true fire. He closed his eyes again and continued to circulate the qi whirlpool. The golden spirit core in his palms spun quickly. The pure and vast golden spiritual energy, which was even stronger than a superior-grade spirit stone, was being absorbed by Xiao Chen. The golden spirit core shrank at a visible rate. Xiao Chen absorbed all the spiritual energy in one go. He wanted to make use of this final external force to break through the restraints of a martial saint in one go and become a martial king. When Yu Chenxi saw the whirlpool disappear from a distance, he heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that Xiao Chen's cultivation technique had advanced successfully. However, his expression turned grave after that. A strong aura came from Xiao Chen's body. That energy was extremely vast and it was still rising continuously. Yu Chenxi frowned slightly and said sullenly, "Could this fellow be thinking of using this opportunity to break through to martial king? This is too crazy." As the golden energy continued to pour in, the energy gathered in his dantian became stronger. Xiao Chen could clearly feel the barrier in front of this energy. This is the final hurdle to breaking through to martial king. I have to break through it in one go and shatter it. No one can stop me from advancing to martial king. Xiao Chen thought to himself and increased the speed at which he absorbed the golden spirit core. Break! When the golden spirit core was completely absorbed, Xiao Chen shouted loudly. He used this tyrannical energy to circulate all the essence in his body and charge at the barrier. Ka xie. A crisp sound came from Xiao Chen's body. The barrier in front of Martial Saint was completely broken through without any obstruction. A huge energy instantly filled his entire body. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's body soared into the air. He was truly flying, he did not use the gravity spell to fly. Xiao Chen opened his eyes, his face was filled with joy. After 2 months of hard work and countless hardships, he finally stepped into the martial king realm after putting his life on the line. Roar! Xiao Chen's qi and blood surged, it was like he had an inexhaustible amount of energy. Even his blood seemed to be burning. Is this the strength of a martial king? Feeling agitated, Xiao Chen could not help but let out a long roar. His roar was like thunder, reverberating around Qianren Island for a long time. He actually succeeded. Yu Chenxi's eyes were filled with astonishment. In 2 months, Xiao Chen broke through from superior-grade martial saint to martial king. Ordinary people might not be able to achieve this in their entire lives. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen used only 2 months to do so. If news of this were to spread, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. It looks like I did not misjudge him. He is definitely the kind of person that first martial uncle is looking for. Xiao Chen collected his emotions and looked around. When he saw Yu Chenxi 1,000 meters away, he smiled faintly. A strong fighting spirit immediately appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. His aura soared into the sky and pressed down on Yu Chenxi. Yu Chenxi smiled gently and said in a low voice, "Do you want to fight? Coincidentally, my morning sun incantation has made a breakthrough. I have not had a suitable opponent to test it on." Boom! An aura even stronger than Xiao Chen's soared into the sky. Yu Chenxi's figure flashed and he quickly flew towards Xiao Chen. Seeing Yu Chenxi soar into the sky, Xiao Chen smiled gently. The fierce purple flame in his right eye formed a huge whirlpool. It seemed like it sucked in the heavens and earth. "Shoot!" Xiao Chen shouted and a purple flame spewed out from his right eye. The purple light flickered and dyed the night sky green. Everywhere the purple flame passed, it seemed like even the air was burned to ashes, leaving behind a huge black void. What a strong flame! A trace of astonishment flashed in Yu Chenxi's eyes. However, he did not panic. He clenched his fist tightly and a boundless energy gathered. His aura soared continuously. When Yu Chenxi's aura reached its peak, she shouted and punched ferociously. A dazzling light burst out from his fist. It was like the morning sun breaking through the night sky, completely dispelling the surrounding darkness. Boom! The tyrannical fist wind struck the incoming flame violently. When the two forces clashed, they did not give way to each other. A shockwave spread out in all directions. Chi! 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 Some of the taller mountains in the surroundings were struck by the shockwave and shattered, filling the night sky with rubble. Xiao Chen did not expect a casual strike from the Purple Thunder True Fire after the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation reached the 6th layer would have such might. Even Yu Chenxi's Morning Sun Fist could not break it. Xiao Chen thought joyfully. The Morning Sun Fist was one of the few fist techniques famous for being tyrannical. A regular inferior grade heaven-ranked martial technique could not compare to it in terms of pure strength. The two forces clashed for a long time before they slowly scattered. Xiao Chen placed his right hand on the saber hilt and drew the lunar shadow saber at lightning speed. Glittering Mukue. A dazzling purple saber chi appeared from nowhere. The dense light on the saber chi was like a piercing aurora in the night sky. This was the benefit of advancing to Martial King. His essence was even denser. The quality of his essence was double that of a martial saint. Only at this moment did Xiao Chen bring out the true might of the Wukue saber technique, an ancient martial technique. What a surging essence! The amount of essence he has should be no weaker than a regular superior grade martial king. Yu Chenxi squinted his eyes. When the purple saber chi was 1 meter away from him, he punched the tip of the saber chi. Dang! Xiao Chen's delicate and fair palm did not seem to be made of flesh and blood. When the saber chi struck it, it gave off a melodious sound. Chapter 394. Ka Xie. Ka Xie. The purple saber chi was like a saber blade. It shattered into pieces and fell to the ground. The two exchanged another 10 moves. Xiao Chen discovered that even though he had advanced to Martial King, the gap between him and Yu Chenxi had not shrunk. It looked like with the help of the Daybreak Flower, Yu Chenxi's strength had increased qualitatively. Like before, Yu Chenxi did not need to use his state. Who? After an hour, Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and stopped fighting. The situation was the same as before. If this were a battle to the death, Xiao Chen would have used all his trump cards, the palm sword, the 8th move of the Wukue saber technique, and the blue dragon chi. It would have been easy to force Yu Chenxi to use his state. It would have been 50-50. However, these were all Xiao Chen's trump cards. There was no need to expose them. Congratulations, in 2 months, you managed to advance from a martial saint to a martial king. I'm afraid you are the only one with such a shocking speed. Yu Chenxi landed beside Xiao Chen and laughed softly. His voice was melodious and pleasing to the ear. Xiao Chen said softly, "It's nothing. After using so many spirit herbs, it would be inexcusable if I did not break through." This person was as humble as before. He spoke so casually. However, a regular cultivator would not be so bold even with so many natural treasures. At this moment, Bai rushed over. When she saw Xiao Chen, she smiled joyfully and said, "Elder brother Xiao Chen, you have become stronger again." However, Bai did not slack off. "Elder sister, you said that I am now an inferior grade martial king." Xiao Chen looked at Yu Chenxi doubtfully. he did not dare to believe Bai's words. He remembered that before she came, she was only a superior-grade martial saint. How could she improve so quickly? Yu Chenxi nodded and said, I did not lie to you. Bai is indeed a martial king. Her heart-nourishing universe sword technique gives me a headache. Furthermore, she has condensed a sword heart. If she goes to the great Jin nation's drifting snow sword pavilion, there will be many supreme elders fighting to take her in as a disciple. I am a good friend of the drifting snow sword pavilion's young pavilion master. If you are interested, I can let Bai enter the inner sect. Xiao Chen had heard of the drifting snow sword pavilion before. It was a peak sect famous for swords. There were many experts in the sect, comparable to the Supreme Sky sect. When Xiao Bai heard that, she said softly, Xiao Bai is not going to the sword pavilion. I just want to follow behind elder brother Xiao Chen. In the future, when I become powerful, I will help elder brother Xiao Chen beat up bad people. Thank you for your kind intentions. However, Bai has her own place to go. Let's forget about the drifting snow sword pavilion. When Yu Chenxi saw that the two were not interested, he did not raise this suggestion. It was already late at night. After the few chatted for a while, they took their leave. Dong! Dong! As Xiao Chen closed his eyes and cultivated, he suddenly heard footsteps. He opened his eyes and saw Yu Chenxi standing not far from him. White-robed bladesman, can we speak for a while? Yu Chenxi asked quietly as he looked at Xiao Chen under the moonlight. After glancing at the sleeping Bai, Xiao Chen nodded slightly. Then, he headed off into the distance with Yu Chenxi. The two stopped at the periphery of Qianren Island. The sea breeze blew from afar, gently caressing the two. It felt very comfortable. Xiao Chen casually found a clean spot and sat down. Then, he asked, why are you looking for me? Yu Chenxi took a deep breath. Then, he seemed to have made up his mind. He said seriously, in a few days, the supreme elder of my sect should be here. At that time, I would like to invite you to return to the great Jin nation with me. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and said calmly, you want me to go to the Supreme Sky sect with you? Yu Chenxi nodded and said, that's right. Right now, the cultivators of the world are facing a rare golden age. All sorts of geniuses are emerging. There are countless outstanding people. If you go to the great Jin nation, you will have a better understanding of this golden age. That is the dreamland of all genius cultivators. In the past year, I have traveled all over the boundless sea. Even that place pales in comparison to the great Jin nation. Since ancient times, there are many spirit veins that have never been scattered. There are many martial techniques left behind from the ancient era. There are countless strong sections. The competition there is more intense than anywhere else. If a cultivator does not go to the great Jin nation, they will never know how narrow their vision is. A fervent look flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. Clearly, he yearned to go to the great Jin nation that Yu Chenxi mentioned. That was also the place he had to go after leaving the great Qin nation. From the first time Yu Chenxi invited him to exchange moves with her, to the time when she asked for his help on Qianren Island, Xiao Chen had thought that this girl would not approach him for no reason. Now, she finally stated her purpose. She wanted to invite him to join the Supreme Sky sect. It looked like her position in the Supreme Sky sect was not simple. However, Xiao Chen had his own thoughts. Joining a large sect meant that he would have to choose a side in advance. However, how strong was the Supreme Sky sect? Was it worth choosing a side now? Before he had a better understanding, Xiao Chen would not make a decision so easily. Xiao Chen muttered to himself for a while before asking, with your talent and strength, you should be able to rank among the top of the younger generation in the great Jin nation, right? When Yu Chenxi saw that Xiao Chen seemed to be interested, he smiled and said, I can definitely rank among the top. However, I am still a distance away from the top. However, with the daybreak flower, I should be able to close the gap. If Yu Chenxi, with his demonic talent, could not rank among the top, then the competition in the great Jin nation had reached an extremely intense stage. Yu Chenxi continued, the peak powers of the continent have been searching for geniuses from all over the world. Have you ever wondered why Kim Taeho and Su Xiaoxiao are on such good terms with you? Why? Xiao Chen asked interestedly. Yu Chenxi kept Xiao Chen in suspense. He smiled gently and said, the power behind them is also a peak sect of the continent. They are one of the true players of the continent. As long as you come with me to the Supreme Sky sect, you will know everything. When Xiao Chen heard this, he could not help but laugh. This baffled Yu Chenxi. He asked, what are you laughing at? Xiao Chen got up and patted the dust off his body. He smiled gently and said, I am laughing at your poor persuasion skills. Since you want me to join the Supreme Sky sect, why did you not tell me the benefits of joining? Instead, you blabbered on and on. What is the point of that? Yu Chenxi suddenly understood. He said, right, I forgot to mention that. The Supreme Sky sect has all sorts of immortal-grade medicinal pills and countless spirit herbs that are more than 1,000 years old. There are even many heaven-ranked martial techniques and cultivation techniques, and, Xiao Chen interrupted Yu Chenxi and patted her shoulder. Then, he smiled and said, Miss Yu, this must be your first time persuading someone, right? Yu Chenxi was stunned for a while. Then, she asked, how did you know? No, the sky is about to brighten. You should sleep early. Don't disturb my cultivation. After Xiao Chen spoke, he turned and left. As Yu Chenxi watched Xiao Chen leave, she felt a headache coming on. She stomped her foot angrily. During this experiential training, she had met many outstanding talents from various places who came to curry favor with her. She had seen at least 50 people like Jin Wuji, if not 100. However, she did not fancy any of them. She had finally found someone she liked after much difficulty. Who knew that he would be so difficult to deal with? Furthermore, none of those people were like them. When Yu Chenxi saw Yu Chenxi, she was very polite and submissive. Jin Wuji did not care about her attitude at all, treating her like an ordinary person. Yu Chenxi even started to doubt her own charm. It looks like I will not be able to complete the mission that first martial uncle gave me, Yu Chenxi said with a drawn-out sigh. Early the next morning, when the first rays of sunlight shone down, the three of them woke up. After breakfast, Yu Chenxi came over and started talking about last night's topic. Xiao Chen, I am very sincere. In the next 5-nation youth competition, even the people from the boundless sea and the ancient desolate land will be participating. This will be the grandest competition in the history of the Tianmu continent. You should have thought of participating before, right? However, the intensity of this competition is much higher than before. If you had not become a superior grade martial king, you would not have made it into the top 100. You should join the Supreme Sky sect. Only a peak sect like the Supreme Sky sect would know about fortuitous encounters. Only a fortuitous encounter can allow your strength to soar in 2 years. After struggling for an entire night, Yu Chenxi finally thought of a pretty good condition. After he spoke, he looked at Xiao Chen in anticipation. Xiao Chen was about to reply when his strong spiritual sense suddenly felt an overwhelming energy flying over. The elders of your sect should have arrived, Xiao Chen said softly as he looked at a huge wave in front. When Yu Chenxi heard this, he quickly looked over. He saw a towering wave a kilometer away, stretching for 50 kilometers. It was like a rolling door, slowly rolling up from the bottom to the top. Then, it left the surface of the sea and soared into the air. An old man walked over calmly on the surface of the sea. Undulating, monstrous waves rose from the ground as the old man walked over quietly. There were no energy fluctuations from the towering waves. The surface of the sea was calm as the old man walked over quietly. Even a martial monarch could not break through the huge wave. When seen from a distance, it looked like a huge wave gate was lifted up by a formless energy. Is this the power of a sage? Just by raising his hand, he can easily overturn the seas and rivers, changing the world. When Xiao Chen saw the old man walking over slowly, he did not show much astonishment in his eyes. There was only shock, a deep shock. This was a true expert, the people who stood at the peak of this world. Today, Xiao Chen finally got to see their true faces. Who? Who? The old man was a kilometer away earlier. Now, he was already on the island. Even though he only took a few steps, he surpassed the limits of distance and arrived in an instant. First Martial Uncle, why are you here? When Yu Chenxi saw the old man, he revealed a joyful expression and quickly ran over. The old man smiled faintly. Then, he looked at Yu Chenxi and said, "You have no idea how anxious we were when we received your message. If not for the sect needing someone to stand guard, your grandmaster would have come personally." Yu Chenxi stuck out his tongue mischievously. He smiled and said, "It is not like I can't get out. I am just temporarily trapped. You are all too anxious." Chapter 395. Yu Chenxi gave Xiao Chen a meaningful look and quickly whispered a few words into the old man's ear. After the old man heard this, he looked at Xiao Chen with great interest. His gaze seemed to see through all the disguises in this world and see through Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's eyes narrowed as he sensed the other party's vast mental strength. He instinctively wanted to use his divine sense to block it. However, when Xiao Chen thought about how the other party was a bona fide martial sage intending to check on him, his spiritual sense might not be strong enough to block it. Even if he succeeded, it would only attract the other party's interest, and he would use other methods to achieve his goal. Hence, Xiao Chen simply gave up on resisting. He would just watch. It was too difficult to keep all his secrets from a martial sage. Xiao. The old man withdrew his gaze and revealed a thoughtful expression. He muttered to himself, "What a strange kid, I can't see what his martial spirit is. Uncle Master, what do you think of this person? What do you think of my taste?" Yu Chenxi asked expectantly. The old man nodded and smiled, reaching inferior grade martial king at the age of 18. With such a cultivation talent, he can only be considered an outstanding talent in the great Jin nation. However, he has grasped two states at the same time. Just this point alone makes him a genius. There's another important point, Yu Chenxi asked with interest, "What else?" The old man nodded and said, "I'll talk to him myself later." In short, you didn't misjudge him. He is the kind of person this old man is looking for. Yu Chenxi immediately smiled happily, but then he said helplessly, "This fellow doesn't seem to be moved by force or persuasion. I talked for a long time, but he didn't show any signs of agreeing or refusing." The old man leisurely smiled and softly said, "He is a smart person. I will go and talk to him." Xiao Chen and Xiao Bai were about 200 meters away from the old man. Logically speaking, at such a close distance, he should be able to hear the conversation between Yu Chenxi and Xiao Bai very clearly. But for some reason, he couldn't hear a single sound, and when he looked over, the figure of the other party seemed a little blurry. In this way, it was impossible to guess what the other party was talking about by mouthing. Just as he was thinking about something, the old man and Yu Chenxi suddenly appeared in front of him. Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and cupped his hands in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, saying, "Junior Xiao Chen greets senior. May I know your name?" The old man sized up Xiao Chen from a close distance. When he saw that Xiao Chen did not show any change in his expression when he saw him, the old man praised him in his heart. "I don't dare to claim my name. I am Gu Ying, an idler of the Supreme Sky Sect. If you don't mind, you can call me Senior Gu." Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Thank you for your help, Senior Gu. Otherwise, I would have to stay on this deserted island for more than a year." Gu Ying waved his hand and said, "It can't be considered a help. It was just something I did along the way. If I guessed correctly, you should have only started cultivating for 2 years, right?" The moment Gu Ying said this, not only did Xiao Chen feel astonished, but Yu Chenxi, who was behind Gu Ying, was even more astonished. Could this be the crucial point that first martial uncle mentioned? To be able to cultivate to martial king in 2 years, his talent was truly horrifying. Xiao Chen also did not expect Gu Ying's eyes to be so sharp. He could even see this. Xiao Chen could only nod and admit it. Gu smiled faintly and said, "You are a smart person. I will not beat around the bush. The continent is in the midst of a once-in-a-thousand-years golden age. The peak powers are all looking for geniuses. Without understanding the Supreme Sky Sect, it is wise not to choose a side. However, I have to warn you. Before the next five-nation youth competition, it is best to choose a side. That will be your last chance. Take it. This is your reward for helping Chensi." Gu tossed over a golden medallion. Xiao Chen caught it and took a look. The words "Supreme" were written on the front of the medallion and "Haotian" were written on the back of the medallion. The golden medallion seemed to have a miraculous power. When Xiao Chen held it in his hand, he felt a faint warmth. There was an indistinct gentle energy coming from it. It instantly calmed one's state of mind, allowing one to completely relax. Seeing Xiao Chen catch the medallion, Gu smiled and said, "I'll take my leave first. In the future, when you come to the Great Gene Nation, you might as well come to the Supreme Sky Sect. This old man will do his best as a host." Xiao Chen put away the medallion and performed a cupped fist salute. "Senior, please take care." In the distance, Gu carried Yu Chensi, moving a kilometer with each step. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from Xiao Chen's sight. As Xiao Chen stared at the two's footsteps, he muttered, "According to legend, every move of a martial sage can affect the laws of heaven and earth. It looks like the legend is true." Gu carried Yu Chensi in the air, moving a kilometer with each step. "First martial uncle, why didn't you tell him about joining the Supreme Sky Sect?" Yu Chensi asked Gu, feeling suspicious. Gu smiled gently and said, "It's fine. Just accept the Haotian medallion. You are a good lass, but your thoughts are too pure. Otherwise, you would not have been so angered by this brat that you could do nothing about it." Xiao Chen withdrew his gaze and smiled at Bai. "Bai, it's time for us to go." The two of them walked quickly towards the huge wave. Not long after they left, the huge wave slowly sank back down. The entire Qianren Island was sealed up by the huge wave once again. It would reopen in 3 years. However, not many people would return by then. On the calm surface of the sea, Xiao Chen and Bai chatted as they walked. With their current cultivation, it was no longer difficult for them to walk on the water. Bai said softly, "Elder brother Xiao Chen, I have already practiced the flowing light sword art to the 5th layer. In the future, I will no longer be afraid of the bad guy, Bai. So, elder brother Xiao Chen, please don't treat me as a burden." When Xiao Chen saw Bai's slightly red eyes, he was stunned. The current Bai was no longer the little spirit fox who did not know anything. Her thoughts had started to become more meticulous. She already had her own thoughts about some of his actions. Xiao Chen rubbed Bai's head and smiled gently. "How can Bai be a burden? In the past, she helped me pick many herbs and saved my life a few times. Now, she has become even stronger than me." After a pause, Xiao Chen looked at the calm sea in front of him and muttered, "However, I owe you too much. If I let you get injured again, I will not be able to bear it in my heart." When Bai was born, Xiao Chen separated her from her mother. Although the situation was urgent back then and he had saved her from the hands of the Tang clan, he still had his own selfish motives. However, he still had his own selfish desires. Otherwise, he wouldn't have passed on a secret demonic cultivation technique to his mother as compensation. Outside Whitewater City, the little fellow did not hesitate to go berserk to save him from the hands of Hua Yunfei and Duanmuking. Then, for Xiao Chen's sake, she dragged her exhausted body through savage forest. In the dangerous savage forest with many ferocious spirit beasts, she snatched food from the tiger's mouth and snatched medicinal herbs to help Xiao Chen survive the most dangerous period of his life. From that moment on, Xiao Chen swore in his heart that he would no longer treat Xiao Bai as a pet. He would also not let her get hurt because of him. After Bai transformed into a human, the guilt in Xiao Chen's heart became even stronger. He did not dare to let Bai take any more risks. Therefore, in his heart, he had never seen Whitey as a burden, not even in the slightest. Bai's eyes were somewhat moist. She said softly, "Is that true?" Elder brother Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen smiled and said, really? Even truer than pearls. Let's go. Let's compete to see who reaches Green Wind Island first. If you get there first, I'll treat you to a feast and good wine. Bai stopped crying and smiled. She said, good. Bai runs very fast. Elder brother Xiao Chen will definitely not be able to catch me. Boom! Boom! Just at this moment, an unending wave suddenly surged up a kilometer away from the two. The wave was a kilometer tall and surged ferociously. An undercurrent immediately surged up on the calm surface of the sea and quickly surged towards the huge wave. In the blink of an eye, the huge wave instantly grew another kilometer. Aside from martial sages, no one else could achieve such a feat. Xiao Chen showed a helpless expression. A sense of helplessness welled up in his heart. Unexpectedly, he ran into two martial sages in one day. Before martial sages, the two had no chance of survival. However, the other party did not attack. Clearly, there was still room to turn the situation around. Xiao Chen looked up and saw that there was no one around. He shouted, I wonder which senior is here. Why are you blocking this junior's path? Pooh! Pooh! Suddenly, soft footsteps came from behind the two. Xiao Chen turned his head to take a look. Xiao Chen saw two blurry figures slowly appear in the distance. It was a man and a woman, both dressed in white. Only when they got closer did they see their appearances clearly. The man looked to be in his 30s and had an incomparably handsome face. There was a faintly discernible demonic aura on his face, and his eyes were deep and filled with endless temptation. This was a man that would drive all women crazy. Xiao Chen had never seen such a handsome and elegant man before. He brought out the charm of a man to the extreme. The woman also looked to be in her 30s. However, she was pretty and had smooth skin. She looked extremely charming. When she walked with the man, they looked like a perfect match. The expression in the two's eyes was very familiar to Xiao Chen. Suddenly, he turned his head to look at Bai. Suddenly, he was startled. This man and woman looked very similar to Bai. Xiao Chen had a guess in his heart. Bai grabbed Xiao Chen's arm tightly and hid behind him. She said in a soft voice, Elder brother Xiao Chen, why do I feel that these two people are very familiar? Naturally, you are my daughter. How could you not be familiar? The handsome man in white smiled gently as he looked at Bai. The beautiful woman at the side smiled at Xiao Chen and said, little friend, thank you for teaching me the secret technique and for taking care of my daughter for so long. Bai looked at Xiao Chen and asked, Elder brother Xiao Chen, is what they said true? Xiao Chen's expression turned grave. He had not expected such a scene. After a long time, he nodded and said, Bai is real. They are your parents. Since the other party could tell him the secret of the mysterious 9 heavenly revolution transformation and they looked so similar, their identities could not be faked. Chapter 396. The only thing that Xiao Chen had doubts about was how the other party found him. Bai's eyes were filled with curiosity. He looked at the two of them, looking very excited. The sense of familiarity and closeness that came from their bloodline caused Bai to lose his initial panic. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and did his best to remain calm. He asked, how did you find me? Bai's parents exchanged glances. Finally, the white-clothed man said, let me tell you. Bai's mother knows your identity. After she successfully transformed, she went to the Myriad Fiend Palace to look for me. From then on, I sent people to the Great Qin Nation to look for news of you. However, you seem to have offended some big powers and went into hiding. The people I sent could not find any news of you. It was only until 3 months ago, when you defeated the noble clan heirs at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion that we heard news of you again. After that, news of your battle with Yu Chenxi at the Green Wind Island spread out. That was when we found out where you were. It made sense. After leaving the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Xiao Chen did not bother to hide his movements. As long as a power wanted to find him, it would not be difficult. With his doubts cleared, Xiao Chen threw caution to the wind. He said, "What do you want? Just say it. Kill me or torture me. After all, I cannot resist. Do you want to kill elder brother Xiao Chen? Bai forbids you from harming him." When Bai heard Xiao Chen's words, he immediately stood in front of Xiao Chen anxiously. The white-robed man and the beautiful woman looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. "Why would I kill you? You saved my wife's life and helped my daughter transform successfully. I can tell with a glance whether or not you've enslaved her. How can I, and Zixuan, not distinguish right from wrong?" This person's words gave off a very magnanimous feeling. He stood quietly on the surface of the sea, not emitting the aura of a martial sage. Xiao Chen's expression relaxed slightly. Clearly, he had not expected such a situation. He had taken in the other party's daughter as his pet. Originally, he thought the other party would punish him. Even if they did not kill him on account of him saving Bai's mother, they would definitely beat him up. From the looks of it, not only would they not kill him, they would even take care of him. This confused Xiao Chen. Bai's mother looked at Bai and smiled, "We will not do anything to you. We just want Bai to stay in the Myriad Fiend Palace. If her identity is discovered in the human world, she will be an anomaly." And Zixuan continued, "With your strength, it is far from enough to protect her. Staying in the Myriad Demon Palace is the safest." Xiao Chen lowered his head and entered deep thought. The other party was Xiao Bai's parents. Logically speaking, they had the right to take Xiao Bai away. He did not have many requests to refuse. However, he still felt somewhat reluctant to send Xiao Bai away so quickly. For a long time, he had been alone, with Xiao Bai accompanying him. To Xiao Chen, Bai was no longer a pet but a true companion. After she left, his path as a cultivator would be even lonelier. Bai will not leave. Bai transformed into a human after much difficulty so that she can stay by Xiao Chen's side and cultivate to help him beat up the bad guys. When Bai heard that Zixuan wanted to take her away, she quickly walked behind Xiao Chen and spoke timidly. When Zixuan heard this, his expression changed slightly. He sized up Xiao Chen, and the expression in his eyes started to change. An indistinct killing intent spread out. Xiao Chen immediately felt a horrifying pressure. He could not understand what was going on. He raised his guard and prepared to retreat at any time. When Bai's mother saw the situation, she pulled Zixuan gently and whispered something into his ear. Only then did his expression improve. When Xiao Chen heard what Bai's mother said, he could not help but smile bitterly. It turned out that Zixuan thought that Xiao Chen was toying with his daughter. That was why Bai said such things. However, no matter how much of a scoundrel I am, I will not make a move on a little girl, Xiao Chen thought gloomily. However, Xiao Chen could understand why his parents were so worried. It was time for him to say something. Xiao Chen pulled Bai to the front and smiled gently, "Bai and your parents should leave first. I will go to the Myriad Fiend Palace to visit you in the future. With my current strength, I am indeed unable to guarantee your safety." Bai's eyes were somewhat moist as she said, "Elder brother Xiao Chen, do you not want me anymore?" When Zixuan and his wife saw how attached Bai was to Xiao Chen, they did not know what to do. Especially when they saw the little girl crying, they did not know what to do. Xiao Chen advised softly, "You have been by my side for a long time already. However, your parents have never interacted with you. This is not fair to them. Isn't Bai very sensible?" When Bai heard this, she entered deep thought. Clearly, she was moved by Xiao Chen's words. However, she still hesitated and felt very uneasy. At this moment, Bai's mother walked over and gently held Bai's hand. She smiled and said, "Bai, your strength is still very weak. Xiao Chen will always have to split his attention to protect you. This will affect his cultivation. You don't want that to happen, right?" When she said this, Bai lowered her head. She thought to herself, "That's right, I am indeed too weak. I can't even defeat some strong demonic beasts." Although Xiao Chen did not say that she was a burden, there were some things that did not need to be said. For a long time, it was indeed Xiao Chen who had been protecting her. She rarely helped Xiao Chen anymore. When Bai thought of this, she raised her head and asked, "Then, if I go to the Myriad Fiend Palace, will I be able to become stronger?" And Zixuan finally heaved a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, "You are my daughter. Naturally, your talent will not be bad. As long as you go to the Myriad Fiend Palace, you will be stronger than me one day." Bai turned around and asked Xiao Chen if this was true. After she received a positive answer, she finally agreed to go to the Myriad Fiend Palace. What will come will come. Even though Xiao Chen was reluctant, he still made up his mind. He removed the spirit blood jade from his chest and handed it over to Zixuan. Zixuan received the spirit blood jade and took a look. Then, he handed it back and said softly, "Keep it. There will be a chance for us to meet again in the future. I know you truly care about Bai." After Zixuan spoke, he took out a jade medallion and handed it to Xiao Chen. He said, "This is the Myriad Fiend Palace's Heavenly Fiend Medallion. In times of danger, it can summon an ancient fiend emperor's clone to protect your life. If you do not need it, you can come to the Myriad Fiend Palace to look for me. I will agree to a condition that is not too excessive." After receiving the medallion, Xiao Chen felt somewhat speechless. These martial sages seemed to like giving medallions to others. He actually received 2 medallions in one day. "The two of you will take your leave. Bai will take her leave as well. In the future, when you go to the Myriad Fiend Palace, don't be a little drunkard." Xiao Chen smiled gently and said goodbye to everyone. As Bai watched Xiao Chen leave, she wiped away the tears at the corners of her eyes. She made a vow in her heart. "After 2 years, I will definitely become stronger. I will not be a burden to elder brother Xiao Chen." After saying goodbye to Bai, Xiao Chen was truly alone. In the future, he could only walk the path of cultivation by himself. Xiao Chen brandished the lunar shadow saber in his hand and smiled faintly, "That's not right. I forgot about you. I still have the lunar shadow saber. No matter what, my saber will always be by my side." There was still a long way to go, he had to walk it himself. Xiao Chen sorted out his emotions and continued his journey to the Green Wind Island. Just as Xiao Chen was about to reach the halfway point, 2 sharp killing chi came from a group of reefs in front. They shot toward Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's gaze paused and he looked forward. When he saw the appearance of the 2 people, he could not help but feel it was strange. He said, "Wu Shangshuan and Yang Wen, why are the 2 of them together?" Xiao Chen remembered that Wu Shangshuan had personally killed a few of Yang Wen's companions in the treasure room on Qianren Island. Now, the 2 of them were together. Unexpectedly, they had become companions. Xiao! Xiao! Wu Shangshuan and Yang Wen quickly flew toward Xiao Chen. Soon, they landed 100 meters in front of Xiao Chen. Wu Shangshuan rubbed his chin, which was still slightly misaligned. A dark look flashed on his aged face as he said ruthlessly, "I said it before. As long as we wait here, we will meet this brat sooner or later. Yang Wen, do you believe me now?" Yang Wen smiled faintly and did not deny it. He looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Hand over the box you obtained from the treasure room and the spirit herbs you obtained from the herb garden. Then, I can let you off today. Otherwise, you can forget about leaving here alive." Xiao Chen squinted his eyes and revealed a faint mocking expression. As long as they had a common interest, they could stand together so intimately. This was interesting. However, did these 2 people really treat him as a piece of meat on a chopping board? Wu Shangshuan revealed a murderous intent on his face. He said coldly, "Why are you wasting your breath on him? Just kill him. After that, we will split his spatial ring. Kill." After Wu Shangshuan spoke, he stomped heavily on the surface of the sea. The huge force caused the calm sea to surge. Bang! Yang Wen's eyes turned cold. He did not waste any more words. He stomped on the surface of the sea and shot forward. Xiao Chen's expression remained calm as he looked at the 2 people with startling auras. There were no fluctuations in them at all. A fierce purple flame burned continuously in his right eye. Soon, a huge flame whirlpool formed in the boundless space in his right eye. Xiao Chen shouted, and the surging purple flames surged forward. Boom! When the two of them were less than 20 meters away from Xiao Chen, a huge purple flame suddenly soared up in front of them. It was 10 meters long and 100 meters tall. The blazing purple flame flickered with a dim light. Its high temperature caused the surface of the sea to boil. Steam rose up and spread out, forming an overwhelming mist. Wu Shangshuan's and Yang Wen's expressions changed greatly. Just a moment ago, the boundless surging sea was before them. In the next moment, it seemed like only the huge purple flame remained in the world. It filled their vision, shocking them. Retreat! The strange and strong purple flame startled the two of them. They could not understand what was going on. They executed their movement techniques to their limits and quickly retreated. Chi! Chi! When the purple flame landed, a deep pit with a diameter of more than 20 meters appeared on the sea where the two of them were originally standing. Countless amounts of water vapor rose from the surface of the sea. The deep pit only appeared for an instant before the surrounding seawater quickly surged over. Chapter 397. A huge whirlpool formed on the calm surface of the sea. It sucked in all the surrounding water. The whirlpool spun continuously, growing faster and faster. In the end, a huge pillar of water rose from the ground and shot straight into the sky. It was an incomparably terrifying sight. Wu Shangshuan and Yang Wen exchanged glances. They could see fear in each other's eyes. 3 months ago, although this Xiao Chen was very strong, he was still slightly weaker than them. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen's casual attack, without even drawing his saber, caused such a huge commotion. His strength clearly surpassed any of them. Damn it! This fellow has matured. We have to do our best to take him down today. Otherwise, we might die here, Wu Shangshuan said with a cold expression. Wu Shangshuan said with a cold expression. At some point in time, a black dagger had appeared in his hand. Yang Wen also took out a pair of gloves from his spatial ring and slowly put them on. There were barbs and hooks on the gloves. There was also a spiritual light flickering on them. Clearly, it was a secret treasure. When Xiao Chen saw the actions of the two, he smiled faintly and slowly walked forward. The flames in his right eye started to gather once again. Boom! 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 Streams of purple flames shot out like cannonballs. Everywhere they passed, the air burned. A vacuum appeared, dark and gloomy. Bang! Bang! Zoom! 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 The two of them continued to jump up and down on the surface of the water, dodging the incoming purple flames. The waves on the surface of the sea surged and surged continuously. From time to time, pillars of water would shoot out in all directions. Occasionally, some unlucky fish would be carried into the air by the waves. However, they were immediately roasted by the high temperature, leaving only their skeletons. Boom! Suddenly, Yang Wen shouted and leaped into the air. A strong force burst forth from the gloves as he punched. Yang Wen punched the purple flames flying at Xiao Chen. When the horrifying fist wind struck the purple flames, there was an intense explosion. Shockwaves surged and a 100-meter-tall wave immediately appeared on the surface of the sea. It looks like 70% of the purple flame's strength is equal to the peak strike of a superior-grade martial king, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Since that is the case, there is no need to continue testing it. Ka Xie. Xiao Chen placed his right hand on the saber hilt and drew the lunar shadow saber at lightning speed. A dazzling purple light quickly appeared on the saber blade. Wu Shangshuan turned into a black line and passed through the water screen. Just as he was about to catch Xiao Chen off guard, he suddenly felt a boundless killing intent surging toward him from above. With a horrified expression, he hurriedly raised his head to look, only to see a dazzling purple aurora, so piercing that it hurt his eyes. Dang! In the time it took for a spark to fly, Wu Shangxuan took half a step back. He held his dagger in front of him and blocked Xiao Chen's descending attack. His experience saved his life at the crucial moment, preventing him from being split into two halves by the saber. However, the huge force from the dagger numbed Wu Shangxuan's wrist. He nearly lost his grip on the dagger. When Wu Shangxuan saw Xiao Chen's calm expression but his eyes filled with killing qi, his heart turned cold. He quickly used his left hand to support his wrist. "Can you block it?" Xiao Chen snorted coldly. He lowered his right hand, which was holding the saber hilt. The purple qi whirlpool in his dantian spun rapidly and a boundless essence liquid poured out. With the aid of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 6th layer, Xiao Chen's strength instantly increased by 20%. Bang! This force knocked Wu Shangxuan's body into the sea, sending him flying. His dagger also flew out of his hand. How many spirit herbs did this fellow eat? Why is his essence so surging? It is even stronger than a regular peak superior grade martial king. Wu Shangxuan vomited a mouthful of blood. He was horrified as he thought to himself, Xiao Chen actually crushed me in terms of essence. Although Wu Shangxuan's cultivation technique was only medial grade earth ranked, he had cultivated it for decades. However, he, Xiao Chen, was only in his teens, yet he could suppress Wu Shangxuan in terms of essence. Boom! Suddenly, there was a piercing sonic boom. It was Yang Wen taking advantage of this opportunity to fly over. Xiao Chen turned around and brandished his saber. His movements were swift and fluid, and the saber landed on his opponent's glove. Dang! 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 The sharp saber gave off sparks as it struck the glove. However, the glove was not damaged at all. Most of the surging essence had been dissipated by the glove. Yang Wen smiled sinisterly, "My glove is an offensive peak inferior grade secret treasure. You do not have the ability to break it. Don't regret giving me the opportunity to get close." Xiao! In a flash, Yang Wen arrived less than a meter from Xiao Chen. His right fist punched at Xiao Chen's chest. The barbs and spikes on his fist could be seen clearly. This made one tremble in fear. If one was struck, even if they did not die, they would be severely injured. When cultivators fought in close combat, long weapons like sabers and swords would lose their usefulness. They would not be able to block the opponent's attack. The longer one was, the stronger one was. The shorter one was, the more dangerous one was. This was the principle. Xiao Chen tilted his body to the side and dodged his opponent's attack. Then, he quickly retreated. Just as his opponent was about to get close again, Xiao Chen brandished his saber. However, that strange glove managed to dissipate most of the force from Xiao Chen's attack. Yang Wen took advantage of this opportunity to get close again. Hu Qi! This repeated a few times. In the end, Xiao Chen could not shake off Yang Wen's attack. Wu Shangxuan, who had recovered his essence, took this opportunity to join the battle. He turned into a black beam of light and occasionally used his sharp dagger to harass Xiao Chen. With the two of them working together, they finally suppressed the imposing Xiao Chen. They forced Xiao Chen back. In the blink of an eye, he had retreated a kilometer. Wu Shangxuan regained some color on his face. He smiled sinisterly and said, "Brat, the people that I, Wu Shangxuan, target have never survived. You will not be an exception. I will trample you to death later. You actually dared to kick me. How reckless." Right after Wu Shangxuan spoke, in the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen caught onto Wu Shangxuan's carelessness and kicked him. Ka Xie. Xiao Chen kicked Wu Shangxuan's chin again. Xiao Chen sent Wu Shangxuan tumbling in the air. Blood dripped continuously from his chin. This is a good opportunity. Yang Wen's eyes lit up in joy. He could not help but increase the speed of his fist wind. Xiao Chen had just sent out a kick. When he pulled it back, he would be wide open. He would not be able to dodge or retreat in time. Xiao Chen could not dodge this punch. However, he did not intend to. With a thought, the jade pendant on his chest flashed with light. A thick essence barrier surrounded Xiao Chen. Ka Xie. Ka Xie. The gloves with barbs and iron spikes only paused on the surface of the Yuan Qi barrier for a second before they broke through it and continued forward. It looked like this jade pendant was as it said, it could only block a peak medial grade martial king's attack. It could not block a superior grade martial king's attack. However, if it could slow down the force of his opponent's punch, Xiao Chen would have achieved his goal. After all, he still had a peak inferior grade defensive inner vest. The sharp gloves struck Xiao Chen's chest. However, there was no bloody mess or hole in his chest as Xiao Chen expected. It only knocked Xiao Chen back 10 meters. After that, he was fine. How can this be? My gloves are extremely sharp. Even a peak superior grade martial king cannot block them, Yang Wen said in shock. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and brandished his saber. He pressed forward and said, "You are not the only person in this world with secret treasures." Yang Wen recovered his wits and smiled. As long as you let me get close, as long as your essence is not stronger than a martial monarch's, no matter how strong you are, my fist will be able to neutralize it. Is that so? Xiao Chen smiled coldly, and a red light flickered on his forehead. The dazzling purple saber instantly gave off a red light. It was the state of massacre infused into it. Ka! Ka! Before Yang Wen's incredulous gaze, Xiao Chen's saber chopped the glove on his right hand in half, causing it to fall to the ground. Xiao Chen could no longer neutralize the surging force. When the saber chi swept out, it opened a horrifying wound on Yang Wen's chest. Wukuei shakes the heavens. Xiao Chen followed up with another attack. He executed the killing move of the Wukuei saber technique. After advancing to Martial King, the strength of the Wukuei saber technique had increased several-fold. The might of a peak Earth-ranked martial technique was truly unleashed. The divine Wukuei tree descended from the sky with a surging aura, carrying the force of lightning. Yang Wen could not dodge in time. The divine tree shook him, causing him to vomit large mouthfuls of blood. Then, he fell to the sea. Xiao Chen did not give Yang Wen a chance to get up. He rushed forward and swung his saber 3 times, ending this person's life. Then, Xiao Chen casually removed this person's spatial ring. Then, he turned his gaze to Wu Shangshuan, who had turned into a black beam of light fleeing into the distance. Xiao Chen, the next time you meet this old man will consign you to eternal damnation. I will make you die a tragic death. Xiao Chen leaped into the air and said indifferently, "You no longer have that chance." Wukuei breaks the heavens. A beam of light alternating between purple and red appeared on the saber. It quickly elongated. In the blink of an eye, it extended a few thousand meters above the sea. Everywhere the beam of light passed, huge waves surged up on both sides of the sea. It looked very horrifying. Ah! There was a miserable cry. At the end of the beam of light, Wu Shangshuan clutched the bloody hole in his chest. His eyes were filled with horror. Pooh! 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 Xiao Chen slowly walked over on the water. By the time he arrived before Wu Shangshuan, the other party was already dead. Xiao Chen removed the spatial ring on his hand. Xiao Chen did not even bother to look at the other party's corpse. He sheathed the lunar shadow saber and resumed his journey to the Green Wind Island. The setting sun looked like blood as it reflected on the vast sea. The 2 corpses floated quietly on the surface of the sea. Soon, there would be nothing left of them, the ferocious fish would devour them. After killing 2 peak superior grade martial saints, Xiao Chen's emotions did not fluctuate much. Before he advanced to Martial King, he could already kill superior grade martial kings. Now that he was a Martial King, his cultivation had increased significantly. His strength had increased in all aspects. Killing 2 ordinary peak superior grade martial kings was nothing. A cultivator's strength was determined by the purity and quantity of essence. After that, it was determined by the cultivation technique, the martial technique, and the state that they comprehended. Xiao Chen was not lacking in any of these areas. He relied on a large number of spirit herbs to increase his essence to that of a peak superior grade martial king. His cultivation technique was a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. However, his opponent only cultivated a medial grade earth-ranked cultivation technique. As for his martial technique, it was a peak superior grade earth-ranked ancient martial technique. Chapter 398. As for states, there was no need to even mention them. The vast state of thunder infused with holy might and the state of massacre, which was above ordinary states, completely suppressed the other party. With Xiao Chen's current strength, aside from the peak geniuses of some sects, he would be undefeatable. As long as a half-step martial monarch did not appear, Xiao Chen would be undefeatable within the martial king realm. Collecting his thoughts, Xiao Chen opened Yang Wen's spatial ring and scanned it with his spiritual sense. He counted more than 20,000 inferior-grade spirit stones and 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones. It looked like this person had gained a lot on Qianren Island. 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones was not a small sum. However, all of this now belonged to Xiao Chen. After Xiao Chen put away the spirit stones, he fixed his gaze on Wu Shangshuan's spatial ring. This person was ruthless and crafty. In the main hall of Qianren Island, at least 80 treasure seekers had died at his hands. When Xiao Chen thought of the dozens of bloody corpses at the entrance, he felt a chill in his heart. I wonder how many things are in Wu Shangshuan's spatial ring. Xiao Chen felt some anticipation as he sent in his spiritual sense. See! Piles of spirit stones flashing with azure light dazzled Xiao Chen. Even though he had prepared himself, he had not expected this person to be so rich. Xiao Chen did a rough count. This person had more than 15,000 medial-grade spirit stones and more than 200 of the extremely rare superior-grade spirit stones. There were countless inferior-grade spirit stones. There were also many secret treasures and all sorts of martial techniques and cultivation techniques. He must have obtained them from other cultivators. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and slowly calmed himself down. He said indifferently, relying on the evil path is not the right path. This person had so many resources, but he could not advance to half-step martial monarch. This was the best proof. This was also a warning to Xiao Chen. If a person's heart was twisted, they would not be able to reach the peak. The busy harbor of Green Wind Island appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. Xiao Chen placed the spirit stones into his universe ring. He quickened his pace and rushed toward the Green Wind Island. After setting foot on the island, Xiao Chen immediately rushed to his inn and inquired about the whereabouts of Kim Tae-ho and Su Xiaoxiao. Young hero, your friend left a month ago. Before he left behind a letter and asked me to give it to you. When the waiter saw Xiao Chen asking, he quickly took out a letter and handed it to him. Since he left a month ago, it meant that Kim Tae-ho had been waiting for him for more than 2 months. That was enough. Xiao Chen smiled gently and received the letter. Then, he rewarded the waiter with an inferior-grade spirit stone. The waiter immediately left happily. Opening the envelope, Xiao Chen read it carefully. After a while, Xiao Chen finished reading the contents. There were not many words in the letter. The gist of it was that the dispute between them and the Black Dragon Triad had been settled, and both sides had taken a step back. They could not wait for him to deal with this matter for the time being. At the end of the letter, Kim Tae-ho invited Xiao Chen to visit the Great Tang Empire when he had the time. At that time, Xiao Chen would receive him properly. Regarding Kim Tae-ho's invitation, Xiao Chen was somewhat interested. The strongest sect in the Great Tang Empire, the beast-taming abode, was famous. He had wanted to go and take a look for a long time. The beast-taming abode was the only sect that systematically tamed high-ranked spirit beasts. According to rumors, they even tamed rank 9 and rank 10 spirit beasts. The beast-taming abode was very famous in the entire continent. The founder, Mao Yanan, was also the only cultivator who did not have the strength of a martial emperor but could compete with one. After putting away the letter, Xiao Chen called the waiter to prepare a room and hot water. After that, he took a comfortable hot bath and put on his clothes. Then, he ordered a sumptuous meal and started eating. After living on a deserted island and in closed-door cultivation for the past 3 months, Xiaochen felt somewhat bored. Now that he had taken a bath and had a sumptuous meal, he felt that it was a wonderful thing. "Waiter, give this lord 2 jars of wine and 5 kilograms of beef. The faster, the better." Dong! 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 Just as Xiaochen finished eating and was about to pay the bill and leave, a stout man came up from downstairs. He was 2 meters tall and carried a huge axe. He looked boorish and ferocious. Most people would tremble in fear when they saw him. This was Bai Lishi, whom Xiaochen had forced out of the herb garden. Xiaochen had not expected to see him here. Bai Lishi looked around and saw the white-robed Xiaochen. His expression could not help but change, and a ferocious look appeared in his eyes. He took out the giant axe from his back and swung it at Zhang Xian without any hesitation. Dang! Xiaochen did not draw his saber. Just as the huge axe was about to hack down, the tip of his saber struck the axe's edge, giving off a dull sound. A huge force came from the saber. Unexpectedly, Xiaochen was unable to block it. He was forced back 3 steps and only stopped when he pushed his heels against the wooden boards. This axe seems to be quite famous, Xiaochen thought to himself. Bai Lishi's physical body should be stronger than his. However, Bai Lishi was not ridiculously strong. Even when Xiaochen used some skill, he could not neutralize the force. This could only mean that the problem was with the axe. However, Xiaochen did not think too much about it. At this moment, he had no intention of fighting with this person. Even if he was a martial king, his chances of defeating Bai Lishi were not more than 50%. Xiaochen could only say that he did not fear this person. After all, Bai Lishi was a famous cultivator. Furthermore, he had substantiated his physical body. His combat prowess was much stronger than cultivators of the same cultivation realm. Seeing that Bai Lishi intended to make another move, Xiaochen said sullenly, "Bai Lishi, if you still want spirit herbs for tempering the physical body, go ahead and chop down with this axe." When Bai Lishi heard this, his eyes flickered. After hesitating for a long time, he did not chop down in the end. Dang! Bai Lishi casually placed the axe on the floor, and the huge restaurant trembled. He sat down and said, "This old man forgot. Brat, you cultivate the physical body as well. You must have picked a lot of spirit herbs for tempering the physical body. Hand over all the spirit herbs for tempering the physical body, and I will not kill you. I, Bai Lishi, always keep my word." Xiaochen sat down across from Bai Lishi. He smiled gently and said, "Sorry, I need those spirit herbs for tempering the physical body. So, I cannot give them to you." Bai Lishi's expression turned cold. He raised his huge axe and said angrily, "Brat, you dare to trick this old man?" Just as Bai Lishi was about to erupt in anger, Xiaochen said leisurely, "I do not have any spirit herbs. However, I do have a heaven-ranked body tempering secret manual that the Savannah King passed down." Bai Lishi's expression suddenly changed. He quickly put away his huge axe and asked with a bewildered expression, "Are you talking about the Savannah King's firmament body tempering art?" Xiaochen smiled gently and tossed out the firmament body tempering art. When Bai Lishi saw it clearly, he immediately put it away. Unexpectedly, it really is the firmament body tempering art. I thought that the Dark Church's people had snatched it away. Unexpectedly, you managed to find it. Bai Lishi's expression filled with shock. A fervent look appeared in his eyes. There were very few cultivators on the continent that cultivated the physical body. Naturally, cultivation techniques for tempering the physical body were even rarer. Even if there were, they would be low-ranked cultivation techniques. Finding a high-ranked cultivation technique was harder than ascending to heaven. For so many years, Bai Lishi had only cultivated an inferior-grade earth-ranked cultivation technique. He had already cultivated that cultivation technique to its peak long ago. There was no way for him to improve it any further. When Bai Lishi saw that Xiaochen really had a heaven-ranked body tempering cultivation technique in his hands, his excitement was easy to imagine. Bai Lishi's hand unknowingly moved to the handle of his axe. He withdrew his killing chi and thought to himself happily, this brat took the initiative to come to me. When I kill him, I can vent my anger and obtain body-tempering spirit herbs and secret manuals. This is killing many birds with one stone. Xiao Chen took a sip of tea and looked at Bai Lishi. He said softly, put away your axe. If I want to leave, you will not be able to stop me. If I was not confident, would I take the initiative to sit across from you? Bai Lishi calmed himself down and said, what do you want? Just say it. I have to obtain that heaven-ranked body-tempering secret manual. Xiao Chen said casually, you have to be willing to give it to me first. Have you sold that 1,000-year-old snow ginseng? Bai Lishi laughed loudly and said, you should have said so earlier. I am keeping it. This is for you. Hand over the body-tempering secret manual. What Bai Lishi cultivated was the physical body. This 1,000-year-old snow ginseng could only increase a cultivator's cultivation. Although it was very precious, it would not be of any help to him. Hence, Bai Lishi tossed it over straightforwardly. Xiao Chen smiled and said, you are too naive. You want to exchange one snow ginseng for a heaven-ranked secret manual? That is barely enough. Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Bai Lishi snorted coldly and smacked the table heavily with his right hand. A huge force came from his palm and the wooden table immediately shattered. The table did not shatter. Instead, it truly shattered, turning into countless wooden shavings. Bai Lishi's control over his strength had clearly reached a certain level. Bai Lishi raised his huge axe and hacked at Xiao Chen's head with lightning speed. However, just as the sharp axe was about to break Xiao Chen's head. Bai Lishi stopped what he was doing. The instant the table shattered, Xiao Chen pointed 2 fingers on his right hand at Bai Lishi's throat. A 3-inch-long short sword spun rapidly under Bai Lishi's neck. That 3-inch-long short sword looked plain and unadorned. However, Bai Lishi could feel a frightening energy from it. Bai Lishi did not doubt that if he made a move, that short sword would immediately pierce through his throat. Even though his physical body had been tempered to the point of being as tough as steel, it would not be an exception. Xiao Chen said coldly, you can try. Let's see if your axe or my flying sword is faster. Bai Lishi's expression did not change as he said, brat, don't be too greedy. If I guessed right, you should have taken away the Savannah King's burial items. This small sword should be one of his burial items as well, right? The firmament body tempering art that you gave me should be a copy as well. Using a copy to exchange for a 1,000-year-old snow ginseng is a sure win for you. If you are too greedy, have you thought about the consequences if I spread the news that you obtained the burial items? Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, go ahead and say it. I can also spread the news that you injured me. You snatched away all the burial items. I have close to 50,000 medial-grade spirit stones. You can try and see who can spread the news faster. Bai Lishi's expression turned sullen. His right hand grasped the handle of his axe tightly. He said coldly, what exactly do you want? The atmosphere between the two was very strange. One held his axe and pressed it against the other's head. The other controlled a secret treasure and pressed it against the other's throat. Chapter 399. As long as both sides had a single thought, they would immediately perish together. Those whose minds were slightly unstable would most likely be defeated in this battle. When the people in the restaurant saw Bai Lishi and Xiao Chen fight, they all left. When they saw the strange situation, they all fled as far as they could. Bai Lishi was infamous. If he was in a bad mood, he might even destroy the entire restaurant. If he continued to stay here, he would be in deep trouble if he were to be accidentally injured in the fight. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. It was like he did not see the dangerous axe above his head. He said indifferently, it is very simple. It is impossible for you to use the snow ginseng to exchange for the secret manual. Even if the secret manual is a copy, it is not possible. Speaking of which, I was the one who tossed the snow ginseng to you. It is mine. You are using my things to exchange for it. Don't even think about trying to gain something without risking anything. When Bai Lishi heard this, he felt very angry. To think that this fellow was so shameless. If he had not tossed the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng at him for no reason, would he have been forced to leave the herb garden early? If he had not left the herb garden, he would have obtained at least a few good spirit herbs for body tempering. If he was lucky, he might even have obtained the burial items of the Savannah King. Now, Bai Lishi was trying to bite back at him, saying that he was trying to gain something without risking anything. This was simply too shameless. Bai Lishi said ruthlessly, "You are ruthless. I will add another 2,000 medial-grade spirit stones. Is that enough?" Xiao Chen remained silent. After a while, he said, "If I bring this firmament body linking art to the ancient desolate lands auction house, I believe it will fetch at least 10,000 medial-grade spirit stones." Bai Lishi's hand trembled. He nearly could not resist hacking down. This fellow looks delicate and young, but he is too arrogant. What did 10,000 medial-grade spirit stones mean? Bai Lishi did not even have that many medial-grade spirit stones. If he did not kill others for treasures or have any fortuitous encounters, he would have to work hard in the ancient desolate land for 5 or 6 years. Bai Lishi took a deep breath and did his best to suppress his violent heart. He said, "Add another 2,000. Is there any more?" Xiao Chen looked calmly at Bai Lishi. He said indifferently, "At least 5,000. If there is no more, then forget it. I will sell it myself. Otherwise, you can bet that you can avoid my flying sword before the axe hits me. However, I have to warn you in advance that this artifact of mine is a peak low-rank offensive artifact. Its speed is so fast that even I do not have the confidence to avoid it." Bai Lishi's eyes looked like they were about to spit fire. Ever since he became famous, he had never been forced into such a miserable state. Furthermore, the other party was a junior. Every single one of his words hit the nail on the head, preventing the other party from shedding all pretenses of cordiality. The feeling of being stifled was simply indescribable. But the elementary heaven stage body refining secret manual was too important to him. It was the key to whether he could advance further. Corroborating one's Tao with the physical body was extremely difficult. Bai Lishi was able to cultivate from an ordinary person to a peak superior grade martial king. This proved his talent. His innate talent and bone structure weren't bad, and he only lacked a higher-level secret manual to go a step further. However, Xiao Chen just happened to grasp his Achilles heel, causing him to be helpless and helpless. "Xiao!" Bai Lishi withdrew his huge axe. His coarse face looked extremely horrifying. After he calmed down for a long time, he said, "You win. I will add another 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones. I will use the remaining medial-grade spirit stones to purchase spirit herbs and other things. However, I can tell you a piece of information." Xiao Chen withdrew his small sword from Bai Lishi's throat and thought to himself, 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones, and a piece of information in exchange for a copy of a heaven stage secret manual. This was more or less the price Xiao Chen expected. If Xiao Chen continued squeezing him, Bai Lishi would probably go crazy. A heaven stage cultivation technique might seem very expensive, but Xiao Chen's was a body-refining cultivation technique. In reality, it would not fetch a high price. This was because there were too few cultivators who corroborated their Tao with the physical body. This was not a cultivation technique that could be sold for a high price. Hence, the moment Xiao Chen saw Bai Lishi, he made up his mind to rip him off. Only with Bai Lishi would he be able to maximize the value of this copy of the secret manual. The two of them found another table and sat down. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "Speak. What information is worth 2,000 medial-grade spirit stones?" Bai Lishi said sullenly, "Information about a medial-grade secret treasure. Do you think it is worth it?" Xiao Chen felt excited. He immediately felt interested. Needless to say, he already had a deep understanding of the effects of secret treasures. The clear wind robes increased his speed in all aspects. Even now, he still had it. The windwalk shoes allowed him to be as fast as a martial king when he was still a martial saint. The defensive jade pendant had helped him in many battles. As for the peak inferior grade inner vest that he just obtained, it had saved his life once. The palm sword in Xiao Chen's hand also gave him the confidence to fight against Bai Lishi. Without these secret treasures, Xiao Chen's strength would decrease by about 10%. His movement technique would decrease by at least 20%. This showed how important secret treasures were to him. However, now that he was a martial king, several secret treasures could no longer keep up with his growth. For example, that jade pendant could only defend against the attacks of a medial-grade martial king. Now, it was useless. The windwalk shoes could increase Xiao Chen's speed by 20% when he was a martial saint. However, now that he was a martial king, it could barely increase his speed by 1 grade. The inferior grade inner vest had suffered heavy blows from the greedy dream wolf and Yang Wen. It was unknown how long it could last. Of the secret treasures that Xiao Chen had, the only ones that were useful were the palm sword and the clear wind robes. Medial grade secret treasures were very tempting to him. Xiao Chen put down the teacup in his hand and said interestedly, "Tell me more about it." Bai Lishi said, "You should have heard of the demon battlefield in the ancient desolate land before, right? Most of the secret treasures still circulating in the continent came from there." Demon battlefield. Xiao Chen had heard of it before at the auction in Shihe City. The secret treasures auctioned at that time were obtained by cultivators who risked their lives in the demon battlefield. Bai Lishi continued, "With your strength, there should not be any danger in the periphery of the demon battlefield. However, it would be dangerous in the inner region. If you want to go to the core region, I can only wish you good luck." Xiao Chen frowned slightly and said sullenly, "What do you want to say? Just say it." Bai Lishi laughed loudly and took out a piece of paper. He wrote down an address and drew a map. Then, he handed it over and said, "Medial-grade secret treasures normally only appear in the inner region of the demon battlefield. The medial-grade secret treasure that I am talking about can be found in the periphery. Of course, there is some danger. Whether you can obtain it or not will depend on your ability." Xiao Chen received the piece of paper from Bai Lishi and took a look. With the words and the map, the location was clear. Bai Lishi took out boxes of medial-grade spirit stones. Finally, he took out the snow ginseng. He said, 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones, 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, and information about a medial-grade secret treasure. That should be enough, right? Xiao Chen put away the piece of paper and swept everything under the table into his universe ring. Then, he smiled faintly and said, "That should be enough. Hand that thing over." Bai Lishi said expressionlessly. Xiao Chen took out a secret manual from the universe ring and placed it on the table. Then, he turned and left. Bai Lishi's face was filled with excitement. His eyes burned with passion as he grabbed the secret manual and quickly flipped through it. He said excitedly, "It's true. It's true. The firmament body tempering art. Ha ha ha. I, Bai Lishi, have finally found a heaven-ranked cultivation technique." Soon, Bai Lishi flipped to the last page of the secret manual. After he saw it clearly, his expression changed greatly. He raised his huge axe and charged at Xiao Chen. "Bastard! How dare you lie to me? Why is there only a 6th layer? A heaven-ranked cultivation technique has at least 12 layers. Where is the remaining half?" Xiao Chen, who had already reached the staircase, turned around and smiled. "Naturally, it is in my hands." Bai Lishi stomped heavily on the wooden floor and hacked down at Xiao Chen's head with his huge axe. Just by relying on the strength of his physical body, his speed reached Mach 3. Dang! Xiao Chen drew the lunar shadow saber at lightning speed. The two states quickly merged. Thunder and massacre merged. A purple and red light flickered on the saber. When Xiao Chen executed drawing the saber, his speed instantly reached Mach 3. He blocked Bai Lishi's heavy axe in midair, not giving way at all. Along with a heavy sound, a terrifying force spread out from the two people's weapons. The entire roof of the restaurant was immediately blown away. Fortunately, the other cultivators had foresight. Otherwise, they would not have had a good time if the shockwave hit them. Seeing Xiao Chen block his furious strike, Bai Lishi was mildly astonished. He said angrily, "Brat, what exactly are you thinking? I already gave you the thing, yet you are still trying to trick me." Xiao Chen held the lunar shadow saber and said calmly, "Don't treat me like a 3-year-old child. Do you think you can get a secret treasure just because you say so? If it is that easy to take, why don't you take it yourself?" Bai Lishi said, "If I were not in a rush to Qianren Island, I would have taken the secret treasure long ago. How could it be your turn to take it?" Xiao Chen's expression remained calm, there were no fluctuations in it. He said indifferently, "Who cares? What do you say? After I obtain the secret treasure, I will give you the remaining 6 layers. I advise you not to make a move. If I am in a bad mood and burn the latter half of the secret manual, your spirit stones and snow ginseng will all go to waste." Bai Lishi felt extremely frustrated. He had been completely tricked by Xiao Chen in this transaction. However, the crucial thing was that he could not do anything to this brat. No matter what, this fellow would always be able to take advantage of him. Every time, Xiao Chen would hit his weak spot. Damn it! Bai Lishi cursed ferociously. Then, he hacked the restaurant a few times with his huge axe. A horrifying force spread out and the entire restaurant collapsed, turning it into rubble. Xiao Chen casually walked on the wide streets of Green Wind Island. Bai Lishi followed behind him with a depressed expression. "Hey, isn't that the white-robed bladesman? The one beside him looks like Bai Lishi. What's going on? Why are they together?" Indeed, I remember that the white-robed bladesman tricked Bai Lishi a few times on Qianren Island. How strange. Given Bai Lishi's temper, nothing happened and they ended up together. I heard that the two of them fought at the Heavenly River restaurant earlier. In my opinion, it is very likely that Bai Lishi could not do anything to Xiao Chen. Now, Xiao Chen was somewhat famous on Green Wind Island. Furthermore, Bai Lishi had been famous for a long time. Hence, when they walked out, many cultivators immediately recognized them. Chapter 400. Xiao Chen's heart was as calm as an ancient well. There were no ripples at all. He smiled and automatically filtered out these words. Bai Lishi clearly could not take it anymore. He was originally angry, but when he heard these words, he felt even more sullen. Finally, when he heard someone say that he could not do anything to Xiao Chen, he could not take it anymore. He exploded, "What are you shouting about? Do what you are supposed to do. Shut up." Seeing Bai Lishi's ferocious appearance, the others quickly shut up, afraid of trouble. However, after Bai Lishi left, more discussions resounded. Bai Lishi could not do anything about this. He could only suppress his anger. The more he thought about it, the more upset he felt. After the restaurant collapsed, Bai Lishi started fighting with Xiao Chen. However, even after hundreds of exchanges, he could not take down Xiao Chen. Bai Lishi had to admit that with Xiao Chen's current strength, he could already contend against him. So, he could only agree to the other party's request. After Xiao Chen obtained the secret treasure, he would ask for the second half of the firmament body tempering art. Hence, Bai Lishi followed him. Bai Lishi said angrily, "I say, brat. Are my words that untrustworthy? Why would I lie to a junior like you? Can't you just give me the second half?" Xiao Chen did not even turn his head. He smiled faintly and said, "Trust you? Do you think that your reputation is good? Do you want to ask someone?" Seeing that Xiao Chen intended to ask someone, Bai Lishi quickly stopped him. He was very clear on his reputation. If he let Xiao Chen ask, wouldn't that be giving him a slap in the face? "Although I, old Bai, have killed more people, I am not as clean as you, Bai. My voice is a little unpleasant to hear, and my temper is a little irritable. However, this old man has always been open and aboveboard. If I say I did not lie to you, I did not lie to you. Xiao Chen waved his hand to stop Bai Lishi from continuing. He said calmly, "Don't say anything. After I successfully obtain the medial grade secret treasure, I will give you the secret manual. The more you say, the more I suspect you." As Bai Lishi cursed, Xiao Chen quickly headed for the island's harbor. Since Xiao Chen made up his mind to obtain the secret treasure, he decided not to linger and set off immediately. The secret treasure would not just sit there and wait for him to obtain it. If someone else got it before him, he would suffer in silence. After they left the city and walked along the road, there were many cultivators who recognized the two of them. There was no lack of strange discussions. This was especially so for the words, "white-robed bladesman." Bai Lishi could not help mocking Xiao Chen, "Look at how many people call you the white-robed bladesman. It seems like you take this title for granted. How can you be called a bladesman?" Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. Then, he asked interestedly, "In that case, tell me why I cannot live up to the title of bladesman." Bai Lishi smiled coldly and said, "Although you have a sharpness in your heart, this sharpness has not formed into your saber intent. Without saber intent, how can you be a bladesman? Go to the ancient desolate land and see what kind of people the 10 great bladesmen are. Then, you will know what a bladesman is. Not to mention that it is too far away, just take the bloody bladesman Sun Guangquan that you met. He took more than 20 years to obtain this title. As for you, you are still very inexperienced. You probably cannot even feel Sun Guangquan's saber intent." Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows. He did not refute Bai Lishi's words. Bai Lishi was right, Xiao Chen was not a true bladesman. In the somewhat decaying heavenly saber gate, aside from martial techniques and tempering the mental state, there were all sorts of martial techniques related to the saber. Xiao Chen had not learned anything about the cultivation of a bladesman. It was as Yun Kursen said, the heavenly saber pavilion no longer had bladesmen. There were only cultivators who used the saber. When Bai Lishi saw Xiao Chen remain silent, he continued smiling, "How is it? Brat, I was right, right? However, don't be discouraged. I am acquainted with old Sunday. I will ask him to exchange pointers with you another day. I will let you experience his saber intent. I guarantee that you will successfully cross the threshold of becoming a bladesman. However, you have to give me the second half of the firmament body tempering art first. At the very least, you have to give me the third layer. How about that?" Xiao Chen laughed hoarsely. This Bai Lishi really did not deviate from his profession. He was concerned about the firmament body tempering art. After a few words, he changed the topic back to that. Xiao Chen was probably going to be annoyed along the way. "Brat, don't remain silent. Let me tell you, with the help of the bloody bladesman, the time you need to comprehend saber intent will be greatly reduced." Seeing that Xiao Chen ignored him, Bai Lishi called out continuously from behind him. This continued all the way until Xiao Chen reached the harbor. Xiao Chen had not expected a burly man like Bai Lishi to be so talkative. No matter how good Xiao Chen's mental state was, there was always a fly buzzing behind him. It was very annoying. Most importantly, he could not kill this fly with one slap. Helplessly, Xiao Chen stopped walking. He said, "Old Bai, we are already at the harbor. Can you stop for a while?" When Bai Lishi saw Xiao Chen's frustrated expression, he laughed happily. "What's wrong? Are you feeling annoyed? Let me tell you, this is just the beginning. You bastard, how badly did you cheat me at the restaurant? Years of savings, 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, and news of a medial-grade secret treasure. In the end, you only obtained half a secret manual. Furthermore, it was just a copy. If I can't beat you to death, I will annoy you to death. If you are annoyed, then take out the other half." Xiao Chen finally saw what it meant to be a scoundrel. Furthermore, Bai Lishi was a man. He was truly impressed. "Do as you please. If you do not obtain the secret treasure, I will not give you the other half of the firmament body tempering art." The Green Wind Island's harbor was very busy. With one glance, countless merchant ships could be seen. The merchant associations of various nations were all here. The entire harbor was also filled with people. It was very crowded. However, most of the merchant ships were heading out to the boundless sea. Xiao Chen searched for a long time but could not find any returning merchant ships. Bai Lishi said from behind, "Brat, stop looking. The merchant ships returning from the boundless sea will only appear at night." Xiao Chen felt suspicious. He asked, "Why?" Bai Lishi looked at Xiao Chen with disdain. He said, "Young people do not understand. This is the rule of the Green Wind Islands harbor. There are too many ships." In the past, there were often incidents of merchant ships heading out to sea and returning to the harbor, colliding and sinking to the bottom of the sea. Hence, the two ships are managed at different times. Xiao Chen glanced at the thousands of huge merchant ships in the harbor. He somewhat understood what Bai Lishi meant. The world here was different from his previous life. The merchant ships were too big and there were too many of them. Without a convenient way to command them, it would be very difficult to manage them. Xiao Chen looked up at the sky. The sun was setting in the west. It was already dusk. It would not be long before it turned dark. "I'll just wait for a while." Xiao Chen found a place with fewer people on the shore of the harbor. Then, he sat down and took out a book from the universe ring to read. This book was the introduction to secret treasures that Xiao Chen had obtained in the past. There were too many people in the harbor. Xiao Chen would not be able to cultivate. However, he could not waste too much time. Taking some time to understand the different types of secret treasures, as well as the famous secret treasures, would be a good thing. "Brat, what's so good about books? Let's talk about tempering the body. I can tell that you have already cultivated the body to a certain level." Bai Lishi chased after Xiao Chen like a shadow. He placed his huge axe on the ground and sat down beside Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen could not be bothered with Bai Lishi. No matter what Bai Lishi said to him, he would quickly change the topic to the firmament body tempering art. Along the way, Xiao Chen had experienced this many times. "I can see that your physical strength is only about 100,000 kilograms of force. There is still a lot of room for improvement. How about this? Give me the 7th layer of the firmament body tempering art. Just the first layer will do. I can help you increase your physical strength to 25,000 kilograms of force." Indeed, after saying that, Bai Lishi changed the topic. Xiao Chen smiled faintly to himself, not intending to continue the conversation. Even if Bai Lishi's offer was very tempting, Xiao Chen ignored it. He focused on the secret treasures in the book. Time slowly went by. Just as the sky turned completely dark, Xiao Chen suddenly heard footsteps approaching. That person did not hide his aura at all. He locked onto Xiao Chen and walked over. Xiao Chen put away the book and quickly got up. Bai Lishi's reaction was no slower than Xiao Chen's. He turned around at the same time. That person had a sword hanging at his waist. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and he looked very handsome. His aura was extremely sharp. His aura was like a sharp sword. Xiao Chen looked suspiciously at this person. He muttered to himself, "Why is Jin Wuji still here?" Bai Lishi whispered, "It seems like that person from the Heavenly Sword Gate. He looks very powerful. Is he your friend?" Bai Lishi's words were clearly filled with mockery. Xiao Chen shook his head and said, "I am not." Jin Wuji, who was less than 100 meters away, heard Bai Lishi's words clearly. Although he was angry at this person's mockery, he knew this person's identity and did not want to say anything. Jin Wuji focused his attention on Xiao Chen. He said sullenly, "Where is Yu Chenxi? Has he left yet?" Xiao Chen frowned slightly. Why does this Jin Wuji's tone sound so aggressive? I don't remember offending this person. However, when Xiao Chen heard Yu Chenxi's name, he connected the dots and made some guesses. He smiled helplessly to himself. It looks like my first trouble has arrived because of her. Ignoring Jin Wuji's tone, Xiao Chen replied calmly, "I obtained the Daybreak Flower and left with the upper echelon of the Supreme Sky Sect. Jin Wuji's expression changed slightly. He asked in astonishment, "You helped her obtain the daybreak flower?" "Damn it! Originally, I should have helped you Chensi obtain the daybreak flower. Unexpectedly, this brat messed up my plan once again." After a while, Jin Wuji did his best to calm himself down. He thought to himself, in the end, this person has some friendship with Su Xiaoxiao. There are many people here, so I'll let him off for now. Remember this, no matter what you did, a white-robed bladesman like you is not someone you can dream about with Yu Chensi. Don't seek trouble for yourself. In the future, don't let me see you and Yu Chensi together. Jin Wuji's expression turned sullen. He continued in a cold voice, "Otherwise, the heavenly sword gate will make it hard for you to move in this world. Don't offend someone you cannot afford to offend." "Humph! Who do you think you are? You have spoiled my plans time and time again. Don't even look at your own status." Chapter 401. Jin Wuji snorted coldly and cursed in his heart. Then, he slowly turned around and left. He did not even look at Xiao Chen. Bang! There was a loud sound. Xiao Chen was expressionless as he kicked Jin Wuji's back from behind. This kick contained a total of 150 tons of force. After a few muffled sounds, a few bones in Jin Wuji's back broke. He vomited a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Jin Wuji's face was filled with pain. He pushed himself off the ground and tried to stand up. Bang! How could Xiao Chen give Jin Wuji the opportunity to stand up? He stomped down heavily again. Paw! Paw! Jin Wuji's handsome face came into contact with the ground again. This time, it was even more intense than the previous kick. Jin Wuji's face was swollen and blood flowed from the corner of his lips. Clearly, his internal organs were significantly injured as well. He was in a very sorry state. Chi! Chi! Jin Wuji struggled on the ground, trying to struggle free. However, Xiao Chen's right foot carried more than 100,000 tons of force. It was like a stabilizing force holding Jin Wuji in place. Jin Wuji could not use any of his abilities: state of metal, peak inferior grade martial king cultivation, high-ranked sword techniques of the heavenly sword gate, no matter what. No matter how Jin Wuji struggled, he could not stand up. Instead, as Xiao Chen increased his strength, the more he struggled, the more pain he felt. Xiao Chen looked at Jin Wuji on the ground. His expression did not change. He said indifferently, "Didn't your master tell you not to show your back to the enemy when you threaten them?" "Ah! Xiao Chen, you have eaten a leopard's gall. How dare you sneak attack me? I am the final disciple of the Heavenly Sword Gate's Vice Sect Master. You offended me. You are dead for sure. Even Su Xiaoxiao will not be able to save you." Jin Wuji lay face down on the ground and let out miserable cries. His words were filled with boundless essence. His voice was sharp and seemed to be in a frenzy. It attracted the attention of many people at the port. Instantly, countless cultivators gathered around to watch the excitement. Strange, why is the white-robed bladesman fighting Jin Wuji? Unexpectedly, Jin Wuji could not retaliate at all. Indeed. He is, after all, one of the top 100 contestants of the previous 5-nation youth competition. Is this all he is capable of? Even if he was sneak attacked, he should not end up like this. However, he has the backing of the Heavenly Sword Gate. This white-robed bladesman would not dare to do anything to Jin Wuji. The Heavenly Sword Gate is one of the top sects in the Chu nation. There are many martial monarchs in the sect. Any one of them would be able to deal with him. Yes, but he dared to trample on Jin Wuji ruthlessly. Not everyone has that kind of courage. When the surrounding crowd saw Xiao Chen stepping on Jin Wuji, unable to move, they were all astonished. Jin Wuji was one of the top 100 contestants of the previous 5-nation youth competition. Jin Wuji had just finished speaking when Xiao Chen stepped on the back of Jin Wuji's head. Furthermore, Xiao Chen had held back. Otherwise, he would have crushed Jin Wuji's head. When Xiao Chen saw Jin Wuji in such a sorry state, he could not help but feel bored. How could such a person make it into the top 100 of the five-nation youth competition? This was truly disappointing. Jin Wuji did not even raise his guard. Furthermore, he dared to threaten an opponent of similar strength to him. Did he really think that the words "Heavenly Sword Gate" would allow him to humiliate him? This was simply too laughable. Xiao Chen watched as the merchant ships returned to port one by one. He shook his head and released his foot. Then, he casually kicked Jin Wuji's body and lifted him up. Xiao Chen casually kicked Jin Wuji as though he was kicking a pile of trash. He did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. Seeing that a few merchant ships had already entered the port, Xiao Chen said to Bai Lishi, "Let's go." Bai Lishi laughed loudly and said, "I discovered that your temperament is finally to my liking. Such a brat who does not know the immensity of heaven and earth should be ruthlessly trampled on a few times. Only then would he feel better. Otherwise, he would not know his own capabilities. However, speaking of which, are you just going to let him off like this? Are you not afraid that he will seek revenge on you in the future?" Xiao Chen said calmly, "It does not matter. It is the same whether I kill him or not. His accomplishments will not be very high. There is no need to kill him and completely offend the Heavenly Sword Gate." The Heavenly Sword Gate was a sect with a sage. They also had many martial monarchs. If Xiao Chen offended the Heavenly Sword Gate, killing Jin Wuji or not would result in a completely different outcome. Xiao Chen was still able to distinguish the severity of the situation. As long as he did not kill Jin Wuji, he could still endure the revenge of the Heavenly Sword Gate. However, if that Jin Wuji did not know his place, Xiao Chen would not mind killing him. The Haotian Medallion and the Heavenly Fiend Medallion would be sufficient to help him deal with these problems. Bai Lishi was somewhat speechless as he said, "You brat, I thought you did not care about the Heavenly Sword Gate. Since that is the case, why did you make a move?" Xiao Chen placed his right hand on his saber hilt and smiled faintly. "How many times do you think he will show his back to me when he is defenseless? Since the opportunity is right in front of me, if I do not make that move, I will be letting myself down." Bai Lishi was stunned at first. Then, he laughed loudly and said, "Ha ha ha. Brat, you are awesome. You have a trace of my demeanor back then. Who cares what high-ranked sect it is or how many major characters they have backing them? So be it. What do you mean by a gentleman taking revenge 10 years is not too late? Since there is an opportunity in front of you, you should vent your anger. Otherwise, if you keep it bottled up in your heart, you will get sick sooner or later." Hu Chi. Just at this moment, the sound of something breaking came from behind. An extremely sharp killing chi surged toward Xiao Chen's back. Xiao Chen's right hand remained on his saber hilt, maintaining his guard at all times. He immediately felt this killing chi. Dang! Xiao Chen turned around and drew his saber. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen quickly blocked the incoming sword. The two states merged on his saber, the power of massacre and the power of thunder burst out. Xiao Chen used his full power, not holding back at all. The moment he came into contact with Jin Wuji's sword, he knocked it away. Jin Wuji's face was swollen and his long hair was disheveled. He was in a sorry state. When he saw his sword knocked away, he was astonished. He could not help but vomit another mouthful of blood. Caught off guard, Jin Wuji was stomped on by Xiao Chen. Then, he was stomped on heavily. His internal organs were already injured. It was already very difficult for him to send out another attack. Xiao Chen raised his lunar shadow saber and placed it on Jin Wuji's neck. He said indifferently, "Jin Wuji, are you that eager to die?" When Jin Wuji heard this, he laughed loudly, "Trash! Do you dare to kill me? So what if you severely injure me? You have no sect or power. Even the Bloody Blades man does not dare to kill me. What can you do to me? If you wanted to kill me, you would have done so long ago. Why aren't you making a move?" "It is all because I fear the revenge of the Heavenly Sword Gate." A ruthless look flashed on Jin Wuji's face. He said in a cold voice, "If not for Su Xiao, I would have killed you long ago. You would not have the chance to be so arrogant today. If you have the guts, then kill me. Just wait for the heavenly sword gate to kill your entire family. Today, you have already thoroughly offended me. If you kneel and beg for mercy now, I can spare your life. Otherwise, no matter where you go, I will repay today's humiliation 100-fold." Jin Wuji's expression turned sullen. When he saw the saber that Xiao Chen placed on his neck, he did not show any fear. He is really reckless, Xiao Chen thought to himself. However, when he thought about it, he felt that something was wrong. Logically speaking, with Xiao Chen's saber pressed against Jin Wuji's neck and death approaching, even if Jin Wuji had the heavenly sword gate behind him, he should not be so confident. Xiao Chen turned his head and looked in the direction of Jin Wuji's gaze. He saw a white-robed swordsman standing on the bow of a merchant ship returning to port. He had an indistinct smile on his face as he looked at the three of them quietly. That person's aura was completely withdrawn. There seemed to be a surging sword intent in his body, wanting to gush out. He was like a treasured sword that had not been unsheathed. Jin Wuji smiled and said, "This is my first senior brother, the final disciple of the Heavenly Sword Gate's sect master. He just returned from experiential training in the Boundless Sea. He is a martial king and is undefeatable. Don't think that you are undefeatable just because you had a fortuitous encounter." It looked like this person was the source of Jin Wuji's confidence. No wonder he had stayed here for 3 months. He must have been waiting for this person. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "Interesting. He is much stronger than trash like you. However, no one can save you today. Die!" Boom! Just as Xiao Chen was about to use his saber to kill Jin Wuji, a powerful sword shot out from the merchant ship. Everywhere it passed, it kicked up huge waves on the surface of the sea. Its aura was incomparably terrifying. The sword chi gathered on the sword did not scatter at all. It gathered at the tip of the sword. Space was like layers of white paper stacked together as the sword pierced through it. Xiao Chen was mildly startled. The sword intent on the sword was stronger than he had imagined. Furthermore, it was incredibly fast, reaching Mach 3 in an instant. If Xiao Chen still wanted to forcefully attack, he would have to face this sword head-on. Xiao Chen thought quickly and quickly made a decision. He sheathed his saber and retreated, dodging this sword. Paw! Although Jin Wuji had said it casually, he had taken a trip to the gates of hell. He could feel his heart beating faster. It was several times faster than usual. He felt a lingering fear and could not help but kneel on the ground with a pu-tong sound. Wang! 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 That sword quickly spun around. It did not stab into the ground as it had done earlier. Instead, it spun around in the air and continued to stab at Xiao Chen. This is the Heavenly Sword Gate's Heavenly Gate defensive sword technique. It is a secret technique of the Heavenly Sword Gate. Aside from the sect master's inheritor, no one can learn it. Ding Fengqiu is here. No wonder this Jin Wuji was so bold as to sneak attack. It turns out that his first senior brother is here. This white-robed bladesman is in trouble. Ding Fengqiu entered the top 100 of the 5-nation youth competition a year ago. His talent is considered top-notch in the Great Jin Nation. Now that another year has passed, his strength will definitely increase explosively. When the many cultivators saw the sword flying in the air, they quickly figured out the origins of this sword technique and the identity of the person who executed it. Boom! 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 Xiao Chen did not intend to waste too much time with the flying sword. If he did, he would fall into the other party's grasp. So, he took 3 steps back. The enormous yuan qi on the sword had blasted 3 huge craters in the place where he had been previously. One could imagine how powerful the sword control technique was. Chapter 402. The Heavenly Gate defensive sword technique is indeed interesting, Xiao Chen thought to himself. It was hard to imagine that a sword could move so fast and be so mighty once it left the hands of a cultivator. Furthermore, it could kill from a distance. From the very start, Xiao Chen was undefeatable. However, in the end, swords were controlled by humans. Xiao Chen turned his head and looked at the white-robed swordsman standing at the bow of the warship with a relaxed expression. A fierce purple flame burned in his right eye. Boom! The flame in Xiao Chen's right eye quickly turned into a purple whirlpool. With a thought from Xiao Chen, the purple thunder true fire containing the origin energy of the purple thunder true fire immediately spewed out. Looking from a distance, the purple flames surging and roaring looked like a huge coiling dragon. It gave off a faint purple light and howled like thunder. The white-robed swordsman, Ding Fengqiu, frowned slightly. He quickly formed hand seals with his right hand and the flying sword attacking Xiao Chen flew out with a xiao sound. The flying sword pierced through the dense purple flames and returned to Ding Fengqiu's hand. Break! Ding Fengqiu shouted as he held the sword in his hand. A 30-meter-long sword qi rose from the sword. The sword qi was like a pillar surging forward. In an instant, it chopped the purple flames in half. Ding Fengqiu pierced through the purple flames filling the sky. He held his sword and leaped over, landing on the shore of the harbor. First senior brother, help me kill him. When Jin Wuji saw this person, he immediately rushed over joyfully. Ding Fengqiu smiled faintly and ignored Jin Wuji's words. He looked straight at Xiao Chen. His gaze was like a sharp sword shooting at Xiao Chen. What a sharp sword intent, Xiao Chen thought to himself. He is only a medial grade martial king, but the quality and quantity of his essence are equal to mine. It even seems to be slightly stronger. It looks like the other party is the genius swordsman that the heavenly sword gate nurtured with all their resources. The spirit herbs that he consumes are much more than others. Bai Lishi whispered into Xiao Chen's ear, you are probably not a match for this person. Not only did he comprehend sword intent, but his essence is even purer than yours. He should have just returned from the boundless sea's deep-sea battlefield. That is when his killing qi is at its strongest. Without Bai Lishi saying anything, Xiao Chen could already feel it. He placed his right hand on the saber hilt and quickly merged the states of thunder and massacre. On the snow-white blade, purple and red lights alternated, looking very strange. A strong fighting spirit appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. He did not show the slightest bit of fear. He had long since wanted to find a true opponent to test his strength. Without a doubt, this Ding Fengqiu before Xiao Chen was a suitable candidate. Ding Fengqiu looked at the two beams of light on the saber and revealed a look of interest in his eyes. He smiled gently and said, interesting. Unexpectedly, you comprehended two states, massacre and thunder. I wonder how many strikes you can block. Xiao. The sword in Ding Fengqiu's hand trembled and gave off a melodious hum. In the blink of an eye, he attacked at lightning speed, pointing his sword at Xiao Chen's forehead. The sword gave off a dense red light. Unexpectedly, Ding Fengqiu had comprehended the state of massacre as well. Dang! Xiao Chen swung his saber gently and deflected Ding Fengqiu's sword strike. He pushed off the ground and activated the windwalk shoes and the blue dragon cloud soaring art at the same time. Xiao Chen's speed immediately increased explosively. He moved like a roaming dragon beside Ding Fengqiu and sent out 9 saber strikes at lightning speed. Dang! 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 Ding Fengqiu's expression changed slightly. He had not expected Xiao Chen to be so fast. However, he did not panic. He moved in a strange manner and his body moved according to Xiao Chen's saber techniques. Although Ding Fengqiu was slower than Xiao Chen, he was not at a disadvantage. Clearly, this was an excellent movement technique. When the weapons clashed, countless sparks flew. The two states of massacre clashed intensely with each other as they made their moves. A horrifying state of massacre spread throughout the harbor. Many cultivators felt a huge pressure. It was like a sword or a treasured saber was hovering above their heads, ready to fall at any moment. It was very frightening. Berserk wind sword dance, wind from all directions. Suddenly, Ding Fengqiu shouted and infused another state into his sword. It was the berserk state of wind, and a horrifying sword technique followed. Strong howling winds blew from all directions. Every gust of wind seemed to contain a powerful sword intent. The sword intent merged with the state of massacre and the strong wind. The moment Ding Fengqiu used this move, he caught Xiao Chen off guard. This was especially so when the two states merged. In terms of essence, it immediately suppressed Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen broke Ding Fengqiu's attack with his saber. Then, his figure flashed in the air. His figure wavered, and in that instant, he split into 9. Then, the 9 figures split into 9 again. This was the high-rank technique of the Blue Dragon Cloud Soaring Art, Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations. Now that Xiao Chen had advanced to Martial King, he had sufficient essence to execute it twice. Immediately, 81 figures of Xiao Chen appeared in the air. A boundless strong wind blew. Every one of Xiao Chen's figures executed Wukuei transforms to Qi at the same time. Instantly, countless purple saber Qi filled the air. Dang! 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 The unending chain of saber Qi and the sword Qi hidden in the strong wind gave off melodious sounds as they clashed. The sounds resounded continuously above the harbor. With the support of the strong wind, Ding Fengqiu's state of massacre immediately surged even faster. The area it covered expanded rapidly, and the state of massacre also turned berserk. Boom! All the figures merged back together. After Xiao Chen broke the wind from all directions, he also brought out his state of thunder to its limits, clashing with Ding Fengqiu's 2 states. When Bai Lishi saw that the two of them showed signs of fighting to the death, he immediately felt impatient. If this continued, they would have to fight for at least half a day. Bai Lishi's 2-meter-tall stout body used pure force to bounce off the ground. In an instant, he arrived between the two of them. Bai Lishi hacked his axe at Ding Fengqiu. It was unknown how much force the axe carried. When the axe chopped down, space seemed to distort. It was hard to imagine that this was caused by pure force. Bang! Ding Fengqiu's sword technique struck the axe and gave off a loud sound. A formless shockwave surged out, forcing the two of them to retreat a few steps before they could stop. I say, brat, I just stepped on a piece of trash from your sect a few times. Is there a need to go all out? Bai Lishi placed his huge axe on the ground and laughed loudly. When Jin Wuji, who was at the side, heard this, he could not help but become enraged. He scolded, Bai Lishi, who are you calling trash? Who do you think you are? Bai Lishi laughed loudly, what a joke. After being stepped on like a dead dog, you still dare to say that you are not trash? With your appearance, you want others to not target you, Chensi? Who do you think you are? You are just a piece of trash. If not for the title of Heavenly Sword Gate, I would be able to kill a bunch of trash like you with one slap. You! Jin Wuji was so angry that his complexion turned purple. His fingers trembled as he held his sword, wanting to charge forward. Ding Fengqiu stopped Jin Wuji. His face sank as he said coldly, have you not embarrassed yourself enough? Get down. Jin Wuji's complexion turned ashen. He felt very upset in his heart. From the moment this Xiao Chen appeared, he had continuously spoiled his plans. At this moment, Xiao Chen had embarrassed Jin Wuji even more. It was like Jin Wuji was his nemesis, suppressing him. Ding Fengqiu pulled Jin Wuji down and sheathed his sword. He looked at Xiao Chen and said, not bad. It looks like there is another worthy opponent in the next 5-nation youth competition. Live properly and don't die prematurely. Next time, you will not be so lucky. After Ding Fengqiu spoke, he pulled Jin Wuji towards the Green Wind Island city. Seeing that the battle was over and there was nothing else to see, the crowd slowly dispersed. Many of them had not expected Xiao Chen to be so strong. Even Ding Fengqiu, who had made it into the top 50 in the previous 5-nation youth competition, could not take him down in a short time. Bai Lishi looked at Xiao Chen and had an expression of pity on his face. He said, brat, don't show such an expression. He only used 70% of his strength at most. At most, after 500 moves, the situation would be in his favor. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "How much of my strength do you think I used? He might have a chance of defeating me. However, he would not stand a chance of killing me." After Ding Fengqiu and Bai Lishi had gone far away, Jin Wuji asked in dissatisfaction, "First senior brother, why did you not kill him? He humiliated me like that. If I did not kill him, I would not be able to vent the hatred in my heart." Ding Fengqiu said calmly, with Bai Lishi by his side, "The price of killing him would be too high. It is not worth it for a small matter like yours." The sky had already turned completely dark. The number of ships returning to the Green Wind Islands harbor gradually increased. The two of them casually found a merchant ship that passed by the ancient desolate land. After Xiao Chen handed over the spirit stones, they walked to the deck. There were many fatigued cultivators on the deck. These people were all very strong. The most crucial thing was that Xiao Chen could feel a heavy killing qi from them. This was the same as Ding Fengqiu's. The only difference was that Ding Fengqiu had infused this killing qi into his state of massacre, allowing him to control it well. However, these people could not control it freely. Clearly, they had not comprehended their own state of massacre. These cultivators did not intend to remain on the ship. They walked off the bow in groups of 2 or 3. They should be preparing to head to the Green Wind Island to rest for a while. Soon, all the cultivators on the deck had left. Only Xiao Chen and Bai Lishi remained on the deck. Xiao Chen thought of something and asked, "Bai Lishi, earlier you said that Ding Fengqiu came from the Boundless Sea's deep-sea battlefield. Are the cultivators on the deck the same?" Bai Lishi nodded and said, "That's right. Since they went to the Boundless Sea for experiential training, they would definitely go to the deep-sea battlefield. However, due to the difference in strength, the people who just left were definitely not of the same level as Ding Fengqiu." Battlefield? What kind of battlefield is it? Can you explain it more clearly? Xiao Chen asked interestedly. In the earlier fight with Ding Fengqiu had only used the state of massacre to block the might of Xiao Chen's 2 merged states. Clearly, Ding Fengqiu's comprehension of the state of massacre was much higher than Xiao Chen's. Hence, Xiao Chen was somewhat interested in this deep-sea battlefield. Ding Fengqiu should have tempered his state of massacre there. Bai Lishi muttered to himself for a while before saying, "The deep-sea and shallow-sea battlefield can be said to be a war between humans and demons. The deep sea is the main camp of the demonic world." Chapter 403. Every demonic calamity starts in the deep sea. There is the largest spatial tear in the world there. That spatial tear cannot be completely sealed. Hence, there is an endless supply of demons in the deep sea. The war has never stopped. Xiao Chen's expression changed greatly. He said in shock, "How can there be such a horrifying thing? How come I have never heard of it before? There is no news of it at all." Bai Lishi laughed loudly and said, "This is very normal. The last demonic calamity happened only 10,000 years ago. Based on the pattern, the next demonic calamity will only arrive in a few thousand years. As long as the seal in the deep sea does not break, no strong demons will be able to escape. Based on your appearance, you should be thinking of going to the deep sea battlefield to train yourself. If you want to understand more in advance, I can tell you everything I experienced in the deep sea battlefield in detail." Xiao Chen glanced at Bai Lishi and asked suspiciously, "You have been to the deep sea battlefield before?" Bai Lishi glared at Xiao Chen and said, "What's wrong? From your tone, it sounds like I can't go." "Let me tell you, not only did I go, but I went to the 3rd grade battlefield." It looks like psychological methods are effective, Xiao Chen thought to himself. A smile appeared on his face as he said, "In that case, tell me in detail. What is a 3rd grade battlefield? How big is the battlefield? Does the difference in grade mean that the enemies are different?" Bai Lishi shrugged and smiled, "Don't try to be smart. Although I look stupid, psychological methods are useless against me. If you want to hear more information, use the firmament body tempering art." Just the first layer is enough. I risked my life to obtain it. Xiao Chen could only helplessly give up. He had expected this fellow to do something like this. He shook his head and turned to leave, heading for the ship's hold. Xiao Chen could not be bothered with Bai Lishi, who was shouting loudly behind him. After spending 2,000 inferior-grade spirit stones, he managed to obtain a good room in the ship's hold. Inside the bedroom, Xiao Chen sat on the bed and took out the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. He muttered, "The 1,000-year-old snow ginseng should be able to help me stabilize my cultivation as an inferior-grade martial king." A 1,000-year-old snow ginseng could increase a martial artist's cultivation by 20 years. However, that was before Xiao Chen consumed large amounts of spirit herbs. At this moment, his body's resistance to medicine was already quite high. In addition, his foundation was already very strong, so this 1,000-year snow ginseng should only be able to raise his cultivation by 10 years. However, this was already pretty good. The 500-year-old snow ginseng did not even have 20% of its effect on Xiao Chen. 10 years of cultivation would be sufficient to stabilize his cultivation as an inferior-grade martial king. Xiao Chen, who had experienced consuming the snow ginseng once before, was much more familiar with consuming it now. The cold energy of the snow ginseng was infused into the herbs. Then, essence qi seeped into the herbs and slowly stirred them. Xiao Chen was not in a rush. He carefully refined the herbs for an hour. After that, the solid herbs in the snow ginseng turned into liquid. Then, Xiao Chen placed the snow ginseng in his mouth and bit down on a stem. Instantly, a cooling liquid flowed out of the snow ginseng and into the air. When the entire medicinal liquid entered Xiao Chen's abdomen, a strong medicinal energy immediately appeared. It turned into a gushing river in his meridians. Xiao Chen felt his entire body heat up. His complexion turned scarlet and his qi and blood surged, flourishing to the extreme. It felt like his entire body was on fire. The 1,000-year-old snow ginseng had exceeded Xiao Chen's expectations. The medicinal energy was a little excessive. Xiao Chen sank his consciousness and quickly circulated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation had already reached the 6th layer. The speed was 3 times faster than the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 5th layer. There was no comparison at all. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation quickly absorbed the energy in the medicinal liquid. As the medicinal energy poured in, the purple qi whirlpool became more resilient. Although it did not expand, its endurance increased. The quality of the extracted essence increased as well. The 1,000-year-old snow ginseng's medicinal energy was vast. It exceeded Xiao Chen's expectations. He spent 4 days before he completely absorbed the medicinal energy. After that, he used another 3 days to clear the first minor hurdle of Martial King, advancing to peak inferior grade Martial King. From start to finish, he used a total of 7 days. When Xiao Chen opened his eyes, he clenched his right hand tightly. He immediately felt a surging energy gathering in his palm. Peak inferior grade Martial King. Only like this can I be considered a true Martial King. Xiao Chen said with a joyful expression, I just advanced to Martial King. The quality of my essence is still unstable. Only when I become a peak inferior grade Martial King can it be considered completely stable. Now that he met Ding Fengqiu again, Xiao Chen was confident that he would not be weaker than him in terms of essence. Xiao Chen got up and pushed open the door. He slowly walked to the deck of the merchant ship. He had not come out for 7 days and wanted to get some fresh air. Bai Lishi was bored as he sat on the deck. This merchant ship did not carry any other cultivators. Hence, there were only Xiao Chen and Bai Lishi. When Bai Lishi heard footsteps, he quickly turned around. When he felt Xiao Chen's aura, he said in astonishment, You advanced to peak inferior grade Martial King? Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, It is all thanks to the help of that 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. I managed to save half a year. Bai Lishi had a pained expression on his face. He said regretfully, the snow ginseng was originally a rank 7 spirit herb. It is extremely rare for it to reach 1,000 years of age. A regular big sect would not bear to give 1,000-year-old snow ginseng to their genius disciples. Bai Lishi sighed and continued, if an elder needs it, he will definitely give it to the elder first before giving it to his disciple. Brat, you are really lucky. Unexpectedly, you monopolized all the fortuitous encounters on Shenren Island. In the end, you even tricked this old man's 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. Xiao Chen said softly, don't worry. As long as we obtain the secret treasure, I will give you the second half of the firmament body tempering art. Actually, you do not have to follow me. After I obtain the secret treasure, I will give it to you. Bai Lishi said, Brat, you are so cunning. It would be strange if I believed you. I would not feel at ease if I did not follow you. When Xiao Chen saw the scene in front, he interrupted Bai Lishi and said, that's enough. The Thunder King Valley is in front. When the two looked up, the towering Thunder King Valley appeared before them. Bai Lishi was very tactful and did not say anything. The merchant ship slowly sailed into the Thunder King Valley. The instant the ship entered the valley, the sunlight above them disappeared. Thick, dark clouds cast a shadow on the deck. Boom! 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 Boundless lightning churned as thunder roared in the sky above. Xiao Chen could clearly feel the might of the supreme thunder. The huge painting of the Thunder King in the valley looked the same as before. Its face was clearly visible. It looked like it would leap out of the valley at any moment. With his previous experience, Xiao Chen had placed the lunar shadow saber in the universe ring before he entered the Thunder King Valley. Although the lunar shadow saber trembled in the ring, it would not leap out. Xiao Chen looked up and saw boundless thunderclouds in the sky, stretching out for 500 kilometers without end. Hey! Suddenly, Xiao Chen's expression froze. He looked at the towering mountain peak and saw several figures. There were many people on both sides of the mountain peaks. That should be the closest to the immortal will of thunder. Why would there be people there? Xiao Chen felt curious. He slowly extended his spiritual sense up. Under the roar of thunder, Xiao Chen's spiritual sense seemed somewhat timid. Normally, Xiao Chen could teleport his spiritual sense a kilometer with a thought. However, at this moment, he could not move an inch. He was very careful. No matter how hard Xiao Chen tried, his spiritual sense refused to move forward quickly. When Xiao Chen saw the situation, he could only let it be. After 1 hour, Xiao Chen's spiritual sense arrived at the top of the mountain and recorded the situation in his mind. There were about 100 cultivators sitting cross-legged on both sides of the mountain peak with their eyes closed. Most of the cultivators had a sword by their side. Every cultivator had a different aura. However, without exception, they were all half-step martial monarchs. Xiao Chen even discovered several martial monarch experts sitting cross-legged with their eyes closed on a few of the higher slopes. Boom! Just as Xiao Chen was about to take a closer look, the immortal will of thunder in the sky suddenly shot down a bolt of lightning at Xiao Chen's spiritual sense. Under the illumination of this bolt of lightning, the dark sky became as bright as day. The expressions of the cultivators sitting with their eyes closed changed, and they opened their eyes at the same time. Under the rage of thunder, Xiao Chen was startled. He wanted to withdraw his consciousness from his spiritual sense. However, he discovered that this strand of spiritual sense was no longer under his control. It froze in the air, unable to move. It's over. The spiritual sense is connected to my mind. It fears lightning the most. If it strikes me, I will not be able to recover for at least 3 months. Xiao Chen thought in horror. In the past, even if his spiritual sense was blocked, he could immediately sever his mind. However, this was the first time he encountered such a situation. Xiao! Just as the lightning was about to touch Xiao Chen's spiritual sense, a whirlpool suddenly appeared in the sky and pulled the lightning back. After dodging a calamity, Xiao Chen quickly withdrew his spiritual sense. When his spiritual sense returned to his sea of consciousness, Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief. Bai Lishi, who was beside Xiao Chen, also felt the strange situation above his head. His expression changed greatly as he said in a soft voice, "Brat, are you seeking death?" How dare you mess around in Thunder King Valley? If you want to die, that is your own problem. Don't drag me down with you. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and said, sorry, I won't do it again in the future. The half-step martial monarchs on the summit all had suspicious expressions. Unexpectedly, the lightning that the will of thunder sent out could be withdrawn. This was the first time they had seen something like this. The merchant ship finally left Thunder King Valley. The blazing sun shone on the deck once again. Xiao Chen and Bai Lishi both heaved a sigh of relief at the same time, feeling relaxed. Bai Lishi said angrily, "Brat, what did you do earlier? I felt like there was a sharp sword hanging above my head. If it had fallen, I would have died." Xiao Chen turned his head back to look at Thunder King Valley behind him. He said, "I only saw some people at the summit and felt that it was strange." Bai Lishi said, "What is so strange about that? Those are the strong cultivators who go up there to temper their states. If you have the guts, you can go up there as well. I remember that you comprehended the state of thunder as well." Chapter 404. Xiao Chen muttered, "The immortal will of thunder, it looks like this is a good thing. I can give it a try in the future." Bai Lishi said, "It has survived for 1,000 years. Naturally, it is a good thing. In the past, there were even martial sages who tried to obtain this immortal will of thunder. However, they all failed in the end. There was nothing to see on the deck." After Xiao Chen chatted with Bai Lishi for a while, he returned to his room and continued cultivating. 7 days later, Xiao Chen was cultivating on his bed with his eyes closed. A series of knocks startled him awake. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and placed the remaining medial-grade spirit stones in his universe ring. Then, he got up and opened the door. At the door, Bai Lishi smiled and said, "Brat, we have arrived. Get off the ship." Xiao Chen felt suspicious. He said, "Why did this ship collapse? That doesn't make sense. The ancient desolate land was very far." Xiao Chen estimated that they would not even be able to cover half of the distance in 7 days. Bai Lishi said, "Brat, you are unlucky. The ship you chose is a merchant ship of the great Chu nation. As soon as we reach the port of the ancient desolate land, we will have to change course. We will have to walk the rest of the way ourselves." The two of them walked out of the ship's hold. There were already many cultivators on the deck. With Bai Lishi in front, no one blocked the way. Xiao Chen followed behind him easily. "Where is the demon battlefield? How much further do we have to go?" Xiao Chen immediately asked after they left the port. Bai Lishi spent most of his time in the ancient desolate land. He was very familiar with the situation here. He explained, "We are going to the first stop in the ancient desolate land. It is also the city at the southern edge, Underworld City. As for the demon battlefield, we are still far away." Xiao Chen stopped and looked at the silhouette of a city in the distance. He muttered, "It is too much of a waste of time to walk there. Since we are already in the ancient desolate land, we have to travel at full speed." Bai Lishi said, "You can't be thinking of flying over, right? I cultivate the physical body. Before I reach martial monarch, I do not have the technique to fly. Furthermore, the journey is very long. Flying will exhaust a lot of essence. The most important thing is, when did I tell you that this is already the ancient desolate land? After Underworld City, we will reach the true ancient desolate land after walking for another 50 kilometers. No matter what, we have to go to Underworld City first. There is a specialized flying relay station there. We can ride a spirit beast to reach the demon battlefield. To think there is still such a long distance." Xiao Chen frowned slightly. "It seems like this." And Xiao Chen's Lishi is that there will be. However, Xiao Chen still had a solution. A silver warship shot out from his right eye and said, "Come on up. You just need to point the way. I will bring you along." When Bai Lishi saw the silver warship suddenly fly out, his eyes filled with shock. He said, "This is a flying-type secret treasure. I have seen it in the ancient desolate lands auction before. Without 50,000 medial-grade spirit stones, it is impossible to buy it. Xiao Chen jumped onto the warship, and Bai Lishi followed behind. With a thought, the silver warship moved like a bolt of lightning, disappearing into the clouds. Under Bai Lishi's guidance, Xiao Chen drove the silver warship at full speed. In an hour, they arrived above Underworld City. After traveling for 50 kilometers, they did not see the expected ancient desolate land. Instead, a boundless lake appeared before Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen felt suspicious and asked, "Didn't you say that after 50 kilometers, we will reach the ancient desolate land? Why is there only a lake? I don't see anything else." Bai Lishi said, "Don't be surprised. This huge lake is the ancient desolate land. After the destruction of the Tianwu dynasty, the imperial capital was destroyed, and the 9 dragons fled. The surrounding land for 5,000 kilometers sank. After that, it rained for 10 years, forming this unprecedented huge lake, the Heavenly Extermination Lake. A lake formed by 10 years of heavy rain. How large is this lake?" Xiao Chen thought to himself. If this was a map from his previous life, it would be 10 times the size of China. Bai Lishi continued, "However, the ancient desolate land that most people speak of refers to the many islands of various sizes in the Heavenly Extermination Lake. The demon battlefield that you are going to is on Boulder Island." Xiao Chen piloted the silver warship and flew through the clouds. Occasionally, there would be people riding on flying spirit beasts or flying in the air. Occasionally, there would be a few gazes with ill intent staring at the two of them. After all, the value of a flying secret treasure was extraordinary. It was enough for many people to make a move on it. However, most of the gazes only glanced at the two of them before quickly turning away. This was especially so when they saw Bai Lishi. No one dared to have any designs on the silver warship. Xiao Chen even saw a few people quickly change directions when they saw Bai Lishi, fleeing into the distance. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "I couldn't tell, but you are quite a deterrent here. You managed to scare people away without doing anything." Bai Lishi said disapprovingly, "I have some reputation in the south. However, when I get close to Desolate City, I am nothing. When you get there, you better not show your flying secret treasure. Otherwise, if someone powerful wants to snatch your things, no one will be able to stop them." "Where is Boulder Island in the Heavenly Extermination Lake? Is it near the core?" Xiao Chen asked. He knew nothing about this ancient desolate land. He could only place his hopes on Bai Lishi. Bai Lishi said, "Not really. However, Boulder Island is rather special. Although there are no permanent residents, there are many cultivators on the island due to the demon battlefield. Furthermore, most of them are martial kings. Sometimes, half-step martial monarchs will come." Following that, Bai Lishi introduced Boulder Island in detail, giving Xiao Chen a better understanding. Boulder Island was about the same size as Qianren Island. There was only a small city on the island, Boulder City. The other places were occupied by strong demonic beasts. This was an island suitable for experiential training. There was a formation left behind from the ancient era in the center of the island. Through the formation, cultivators could enter the mysterious demon battlefield and hunt demonic beasts to obtain secret treasures. "We have arrived," Bai Lishi suddenly said as he pointed to an island below. Xiao Chen focused and landed a kilometer away. Then, he recalled the silver warship into his right eye and jumped down with Bai Lishi. Xiao Chen landed firmly on the ground without making any sound. There was a simple and crude city in front of him. The city walls were short and dark. It looked like a desolate and dilapidated city. It could not even be compared to Mo City. However, the dozen or so guards in front of the city gate would make you throw these thoughts out of your head. These guards were actually inferior grade martial saints. The strongest one was even a martial king. Furthermore, every one of them had an extremely strong aura. Their right hands were on the weapons at their waists. An indistinct killing qi lingered. Such a lineup was comparable to what Xiao Chen had seen in Shihe City. In fact, it was even stronger. Boom! A loud sound came from behind. The ground could not help but tremble. Naturally, Bai Lishi had landed as well. Damn! Brat, you are already jumping from a kilometer. Are you trying to fall to your death? Bai Lishi cursed as he walked forward with an unhappy expression. A height of a kilometer would definitely not injure Bai Lishi. Bai Lishi was merely grumbling. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "Are we going to the demon battlefield now or entering the city first?" Bai Lishi asked, "What's the date today?" The 9th, Bai Lishi walked forward with large strides and said, "Let's enter the city first. The entrance to the demon battlefield will only open when the moon is full. We are still far from that. You can make some preparations. Every time, there are more than 1 or 2 cultivators who die in the demon battlefield." Xiao Chen did not have any say in this. He could only listen to Bai Lishi and follow him to the city gates. Occasionally, there were cultivators rushing about on the main road. These people were not weak. At the very least, Xiao Chen had not seen any cultivators below Martial King. The cultivators on this island were different from the cultivators that Xiao Chen had met in other places. Aside from their overall strength, they all had a dense killing chi. Occasionally, a ferocious glint flashed in their eyes. With one look, Xiao Chen could tell that they were fugitives. Entering the city, you will have to pay 1,000 inferior grade spirit stones. You will have to pay 3,000 inferior grade spirit stones. The leader of the city guards looked at their cultivation. Xiao Chen had to pay 1,000 inferior grade spirit stones. As for Bai Lishi, he had to pay 3,000 inferior grade spirit stones. Although he was surprised at the high entrance tax, Xiao Chen was a newcomer and the people here were not simple. He could only obediently pay 1,000 inferior grade spirit stones. Bai Lishi laughed loudly and took out a black medallion. He showed it to the leader and said, "Rank 4 member. You are exempt from the tax. Go on in." After entering the city, Xiao Chen asked depressedly, "What is that medallion? Why don't I have to pay the entrance tax?" Bai Lishi put away the medallion and smiled proudly, "Ancient Desolate Pass. Originally, you could have applied for it in Underworld City. Although it is only the lowest rank, it would be able to waive 10% of the entrance tax." Ancient Desolate Pass. Xiao Chen muttered to himself. However, he still could not understand it. He only understood after Bai Lishi explained it to him. In the ancient desolate land, there was an organization recognized by all the powers, the Heavenly Extermination Union. Cultivators in this organization could apply for a medallion. This medallion was the Ancient Desolate Pass. With the Ancient Desolate Pass, one could accept and issue missions in the Heavenly Extermination Union. Cultivators relied on the number of missions they completed to increase their rank. The lowest rank for the Ancient Desolate Pass was rank 1 and the highest was rank 9. The higher the rank, the more benefits one could enjoy in the various cities of the Ancient Desolate Land. For example, entering the city, purchasing items, taking on missions of a higher rank, seeking protection, and so on. Bai Lishi continued, "The origins of this Heavenly Extermination Union are very mysterious. Even now, it is still a mystery as to who is behind it. However, to ordinary cultivators, it does not matter. Obtaining an Ancient Desolate Pass is a good way to integrate into the Ancient Desolate Land." As the two spoke, Bai Lishi led them to the largest restaurant in the city, the Immortal Gathering Pavilion. Xiao Chen asked for a superior room. Unexpectedly, he had to pay with inferior grade spirit stones. Silver banknotes from the outside world were useless here. After resting for a night, Xiao Chen tried to find out more information in the restaurant. After all, he could not go to Bai Lishi for everything. If he asked too much, the other party would bring the topic to the firmament body tempering art. This would be very annoying. There were many cultivators entering and leaving the restaurant every day. It was very convenient to ask around. "You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.